Hello, and welcome to Big Witch Energy, the podcast that journeys into the wonderful and witchy world of Motherland, Fort Salem. We're going to recap and discuss all of the delicious content in every episode. I'm Bree.
And I'm Theora.
Come along with us while we dive deep into the hows, whys, whos, and what of this amazing show.
Alrighty, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back to the fun.
Is that the word?
I'm trying to be positive, but it's not working.
It's not working. I'm not going to lie. This episode here, Citydrop. I forgot 90% of this episode.
Me too, for a reason. And
then watched it to write the notes, and then rewatched it and forgot it all over again. So it's just
me too.
It's one of those episodes that just doesn't stick in its entirety.
Well, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not what you want to remember.
No, and it's in my opinion, it's very different than all the other episodes because the other episodes are very I don't know, character plot driven in a different way, and it's more intersplicing with the ensemble, whereas this one you're kind of stuck with the unit a lot.
Yes.
And just the Alder stuff, and that's kind of it. So it's very different than all the other ones that kind of branches more.
Exactly. Well, you don't have the unit members separately with other characters outside the unit.
Correct.
And when you do have that, they're in the next room. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So it feels like you're just trapped in one scenario for the whole episode, which is very different from all the other ones.
Trapped in that damn pool.
Yeah, the slumber party in the pool.
Mm-hmm. There's our book title for this episode.
Slumber Party in the Pool, for the episode titled Citydrop, because that's what the whole episode is about.
Yep.
Yes.
Who wrote it?
Yeah, this was written by Ellie Edelson and Joy Kecken. So Joy's back, everyone.
Joy's back.
Joy wrote episode...
Back again.
I think episode 4?
Yes. Yeah. Also a producer, so.
Yeah. All right, Joy. But Joy didn't bring the joy for this episode.
No, Joy. Where was the joy?
I know, where was the joy? And this episode was directed by David Grossman. And so this episode really picks off immediately where the previous episode left us, which is the unit falling in the sky down towards where Citydrop's going to be. And when they land, Abigail and Raylla, they land so gracefully, which we've seen their flying lessons with Flying Lady. And who actually taught them how to do this? Because it wasn't her.
No.
I think Tally was the only one who was going to Flying Lady's lessons because she doesn't land properly.
They went and practiced by themselves.
Yeah,
and Tally was like, no, I'm going to the lessons, guys.
No, Flying Lady's the official instructor.
Yes.
Army wouldn't do me wrong. Oh, Tally. So
Tally ends up with no legs.
Yeah, so Tally learns the hard way that the army isn't always good and lands with a horrible crunch to her leg and is like, oh crap, this is broken. And so at this point, Abigail's already kind of running ahead and Raylla sees her. And she's like, okay, well, let me fix you because I'm Raylla. And I want to note one thing. When she goes to help Tally and Tally realizes her leg's broken, Raylla's automatic answer or panic word vomit is, oh God, not goddess. So I thought that was interesting because that's her session reflex there where the Christian stuff kind of happens in the world. So I thought that was interesting. And so Tally's in too much pain to realize the consequences of Raylla fixing her, but she'll figure it out after Raylla links with her and fixes her leg, which is that Raylla is going to get her visions and memories of Tally finding Scylla in the bathroom and Scylla was being a bad spy and talking to the balloon in the mirror. And Raylla also gets a glimpse of Tally outing Scylla to Mama Costia. And so after Raylla fixes Tally, I guess, she just looks completely devastated. And then Tally's like, oh shit, that's right. You just saw what I didn't want you to see. And Raylla's just like, it was you, it just very broken and betrayed, you're the one that reported Scylla. So now Raylla finally knows what actually happened to Scylla at the wedding, and that it was Tally, and that Tally didn't tell her for what's probably days or weeks or whatever. And so it's just this, the betrayal is becoming a reality for Raylla, the thing that Tally was afraid of Raylla knowing. But Raylla in this entire episode goes through the 5 stages of grief. And so the first one is denial. And her reply is, well, you lied to Anacostia. Like, there's no way Scylla is in the spree. And she just, like, is so upset she cannot hear anything from Tally, and she's just like, I trusted you. And then by this time, Abigail notices the two of them doing whatever this is in the middle of Citydrop, which is like their
crucible,
their test for war college base. This is like the final exam. If they fail this, they're going to go to the front lines and get murdered by war. And if they pass the test, then they get to go to college and escape the army battling for a bit and, like, learn stuff. So, and that's what the Bellwethers have all done, and so that's what's expected of Abigail. So Abigail's like, my unit cannot be doing this shit right now. Like, this is the big exam. So she runs over to them and she's like, listen, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing, but you need to not do this. This is Citydrop. Like, get your head in the game and start focusing. And Raylla, like, can't even look at Tally and just, like, looks away to the rest of the group, which is kind of by this building with Mama Costia, and she hones in on Mama Costia and is like, fuck this. And she's just like, I'm gonna fix what Tally just did, and just, like, runs away. And it's just not a great start for the unit in this big exam.
Not at all. And may I also add that this entire episode, Raylla looks more and more like a damn walking zombie.
Yep.
I'm like, how much sleep have you gotten? None.
And this is another episode where, like, they don't sleep. Like, their unit in particular gets no sleep.
Yeah, because they're up oh, good lord.
Yeah. And other quick question about this. So I was a little confused. So when Raylla goes to, so Tally breaks her leg. According to Tally, who's, like, again, not a doctor, but, like, thinks it's broken. So Raylla's like, crap, all right, let me fix you. So she does her Mama Collar brand fixing, where she takes on the ailment. But, like, so is Raylla's leg injured? Because there's no hobbling from Raylla this whole episode. So, like, what happened there?
Your question is my question.
Yeah, so confused.
Wait, so how much do we know about... Well, if you go back to the witch plague, she didn't get any of that either.
Ooh. Oh.
So what's absorbing the leg breakage or the ankle breakage?
Yeah, is the mycelium just absorbing all the fixing ailments from now on for Raylla?
I guess so.
That's a good point. And I was also wondering too, like, usually because they went through their fixing lesson, quote unquote, with Isadora. So she's learned some, like, army brand fixing. Like, can Raylla do a combination of the two now where she doesn't necessarily take on the ailment or as much of it, maybe?
It's a good question.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
I can't see the mycelium having a tib-fib fracture.
Right. I was like, Isadora off screen watching the mycelium. She's going, why is it breaking? And then she hits the alarm again and it locks down the necros.
Now we have what is Isadora doing off?
This is a bonus segment. I have another one. Yeah, so the necros that are on base are all trapped in the lab now because it's breaking because of Raylla.
Damn it,
Raylla! Now the necros aren't sleeping.
But do necros really sleep? That's my question.
No, Isadora doesn't let them sleep. It's like power naps, guys. Power naps.
Power naps at your stations.
Yeah. They fall asleep instead of their mushrooms.
On top of their dead bodies.
Oh my god, yeah. Hey, man. They're necros.
Whatever it takes.
Explain the necros to us, Elliot. Otherwise, we're just going to keep making these things up.
Exactly. So I guess we should move on to good old everyone's in formation, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Mama Costa's giving the speech about the rules. But the unit catches up, and God, you guys don't know what a line is or something, because you just kind of get in between people.
Right. Raylla just, like, shoves her way to, like, the second row, and then, like, there were already holes in, like, the back where, like...
Yeah,
what
are
the other cadets doing?
I understand that you want to get to Mama Costia, but
totally.
For real.
Yeah.
It bothered me. I don't...
Me too. I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. So, Anacostia is telling them that white phase evaluation is beginning, and there'll be trip mines and spree agents, aka army officers, that will try to kick their asses. And those people are not going to hold back, so they shouldn't either, which we'll see later is not true. But the units are being assigned to clear streets of mines and use seed sounds to locate and defuse bombs, or the mines, I should say. So that's the basic idea of what we're doing on Citydrop for now. The first test is to find and defuse all these mines that have been set up around this little complex that's frankly super creepy and looks like the set of a horror film.
Yes, that was my comment too. I'm like, why is this so creepy?
I swear to God, they were like, hey, they filmed a horror movie here last week. Let's use this.
Yeah, they're like, just leave everything. It's fine. We got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Question though about this, because when Mama Costi is not the creepiness, but when Mama Costi is explaining the drill to them, she mentions that like this quote unquote fake spree agents are going to use off-canon work. Have the cadets been taught how to handle off-canon work? Because all the lessons we've seen them do are like canon work. So like, are they even prepared for this drill is my question.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
So I was like, they don't seem even prepared for this.
This is the army version of we're going to kick the heck out of your ass. And if you give up, then you're going to the front lines. But if you don't give up and you do kind of good, even though we're going to kick your ass, then you're going to pass and you get to go to war college.
Which makes no sense, because then you're sending people to the front lines who have proven that they can't handle what happens in real life.
That's why they're war meat.
It's so dumb.
It is dumb. Let's not do things this way. It's stupid.
Yes. Anyway.
Like, at least the people that can't grasp how to use work to fight, put them in the kitchen. I don't know.
Right. Make them scientists. Like, maybe they don't need to be fighting.
Let them dissect dead bodies with Isadora.
Right. Isadora would love that. She needs more minions.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
So everybody kind of just, they get their assignments for which streets they're going to go down and check for mines. And Libba takes this opportunity to get in Abigail's face.
Yes.
So she can rub in that their unit is having some friction.
Flirting. Last minute flirting.
My notes say, stop flirting. You're being too obvious.
I know. They're so obvious this whole episode.
It's ridiculous.
It's so good.
You can tell that Abigail is very worried at this moment, though, because of what's going on with Raylla and Tally. She has no clue. And so Tally went off to get the map, and when she comes back, she's like, all right, we can move out. This is not going to be good.
No, I feel like the cadets are set up for failure by like this whole exercise, and then like Abigail's unit in particular is just like super off to a bad start, because to survive you have to be unified. So you can see that like again they're not in a good position where they're going into this test where they need to be like put the unit like unify kind of thing. And so I think it's really interesting when like Libba and her are doing their little flirt off, where Libba's like, I think Libba picks up on this because again they have that natural leader thing in common with the two of them, and she's like, is there anything I could do to help? Which I thought was interesting coming from Libba, and just Abigail doesn't answer, and so I wonder what was Abigail thinking, like, is there a way to help at all? Because this is like, I don't know, she's like crumbling under the pressure, and then like her unit is like out of her control how they behave. So I feel very bad for Abigail in this whole situation.
I think this is a situation where Abigail's feeling very potently feeling the fact that she has no control over anything really right now. But I think when Libba asked that, I think in her mind she was like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what to do myself, so I don't know what would help.
Yeah, what a position for Abigail, who just has gone through life, like, following this playbook where all these decisions are kind of made for her. And it's just, like, with the promise of you'll be great once you get there. And now she's in the position, like, she's been working towards and is like, I don't know what to do in this situation. This situation wasn't in the playbook.
It's ambiguous, and I'm not used to that.
Totally. No, it's fascinating. So I love how her growth through this episode, because, yeah, this is, like, a whole new world for Abigail. So it's interesting to see how she behaves in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one last thing on the scene. I have to comment on Raelle's "I want to fucking murder you" face that she gives Anacostia. She looks like a predator when she's in that crowd, like seething at Mama Costia. So good.
Taylor scared me.
Yeah, it's terrifying. She looks like a wild animal that's ready to
a tiny wild animal.
Tiny, like a house cat that's really thinks it's a lion. That's Raylla.
Like my house cat that wants to murder me now that I put her down.
Right, the one that was just pawing your face. That was Raylla in this scene, and she straight up wanted to kill Mama Costia in that scene. And you know what? I would love to see them go at it, because
I would too.
I don't even know who'd win, to be honest with you. I don't know. That would be quite a battle.
Just hand to hand, because I think Anacostia.
Yeah, so Anacostia would beat the shit out of Raylla. She has height and strength. But I think if they could use work.
Oh, yeah. No, she'd totally beat Anacostia with work. I think she would.
Interesting.
I think it would be not easy. I think that even though Anacostia knows all of the counters for everything, she's also been working inside the constraints of canon work.
Totally.
And Raylla does not have that restriction.
No. But also, I feel like right now, if Raylla was to like take on Anacostia with her like emotions everywhere, I think she would God. I think she'd come out of the gate real strong, but I think if Mama Costia could survive it, she'd win in the end, because Raylla can't control her work right now. So that would like work to an advantage in the beginning until she burns herself out.
Either that or she'd sleep Anacostia for 3 weeks.
Yeah. That too. Yeah, and so I would just love to see those two go at it in this moment, because I don't know, I think it'd be really fascinating to watch them. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, because we discussed in the last episode, if it was Scylla versus Mama Costia, Scylla would win. But like, Scylla versus, no, not that. Anacostia versus Raylla. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Raylla doesn't have the meticulous type of mind that Scylla does.
No, Raylla's also not super disciplined either.
No.
Which Mama Costia is. So that's why I feel like they would be they're opposite enough that it'd be interesting to see how they would like fight against each other. But
yeah, for sure.
Just throwing that out there. I love these ladies. I don't want any of them harmed. Neither of us do. But
yeah, no harm.
It'd just be interesting.
No harm, just friendly fights.
Just friendly fights. Alrighty. So after all of that, the unit gets their assignment to clear Avenue F,
which is an appropriate name for this.
I forgot that, and I was like, wait, they got Avenue
F. Joy, did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, they're like,
F this noise.
Yeah, Joy's like, you know where this is going. This is the street they're going to be on. So they're going to Avenue F because they're
the street of all the Fs.
Yeah, the street of all the Fs. And it's basically this like recreated or something abandoned kind of like street. There's like there's like shops that look closed, and
broken
then like
bicycles.
Yeah, broken debris, cars with like weeds growing out of the flatbed. So it's like no one's been here for a hot minute and a half. And Abigail gets into leader mode and like dishes out duties to everybody. And so Tally gets the scry because she's Tally. And Raylla go diffuse, which
not a good position for her to be in.
Okay, but was searching a better one for Raylla? Raylla can't do either of these things right now.
Well, she can't do either, but she absolutely can't diffuse anything.
Right, anything. Bombs or escalating conversations. So that was their Avenue F is what's happening.
Exactly.
And
I'm going to start using that. You guys, I'm Avenue F.
I'm Avenue F. And Abigail's like, I'm just going to search. Just call out if suspicious things happen. And so Abigail goes off to like inspect a shop, and she like clears the area. And Raylla and Tally are walking on the street, but are like on literal opposite ends of this street because the physical chasm between them because of the betrayal. And Raylla is still in the first stage of grief where she's in denial, and she's like, you're wrong, Tally. Like, Scylla specifically told me not to believe what people said about her. And Tally lets it drop the message the balloon gave Scylla, which was to deliver her to Penelope Road at 6 p.m. Like, you were her target. And like Tally's like very calm when she says this, almost like she's internally practiced this for when this eventually came out with like Raylla, because Raylla was very like emotional this whole time, and Tally's like calm. She's like, this is what I saw, like this is what happened.
But it's mean calm almost. Like,
yes.
She's got to have an edge to it.
Yeah, because I don't know if Tally's upset that Raylla can't see it from her point of view, or Tally's just like over this whole situation because she's been sitting with this the whole time. and it's just like angry that she couldn't tell Raylla sooner, like angry that this came about this whole time, and she's having her own conflict with like, you know, I'm doing what the military told me, but like fighting with like my loyalty to my unit. So like, I think Tally's trying to hold it together also.
It's option B, I think.
Yeah.
She's just done with she's done with this whole shenanigans. She's been Avenue F'd one too many times.
She was Avenue F'd at the wedding because of Scylla's bad spying. If Scylla was a better spy and saw Tally and was like, oh, I'll just wait till you leave, none of this would have happened. So Scylla, this is your fault.
Yeah.
You Avenue F'd them.
I want to know what would happen if she didn't catch Scylla and the balloon showed up, and what Scylla would think. Like, we didn't plan this, did we? Are my people trying to kill me too?
Oh my god, that'd be so funny. Like, what if they were just chilling in the bathroom and then the balloon showed up and they're like, wait, what's that balloon? So I was like, oh my god, a balloon!
A balloon? Oh my god!
She puts Tally to sleep and it's like, what do you want, balloon? Fuck you.
Avenue F
spies. We got Avenue F. Honestly, I'm here for that alternate scene.
Me too.
Who wants to write us that? Because that sounds so funny.
Yeah, somebody write that for us.
That's hilarious. Oh, I love
That's
it.
such a crack fic, and
I know. I love it. Because the point is, either way, Scylla wouldn't have taken Raylla to Penelope Road, which is exactly what Raylla says in this scene. She's like, she didn't take me anywhere. We were dancing at 6 p.m. She told me she loved me. Like, what are you talking about? And again, I think this is part of Raylla's denial, where she's trying to like convince herself that like all these external things that are saying, hey, you know, remember this weird thing you were thinking about Scylla? They see it too. Raylla's trying to like keep those thoughts at bay. And this is where she's transitioning into like the bargaining part of like dealing with grief. She's like trying to like reconcile the fantasy versus reality, where she's like, well, you know, in the ballroom we were dancing and all in love and stuff, and like now you're telling me that she was a spree agent this whole time. You're trying to take me somewhere. She's like, but no, I experienced the fantasy part. Like, what are you saying, Tally? So she's bargaining. She's going through the stages of grief. And this is where Tally has her breaking point. She's like, listen, Raylla, I did what I did to protect you. And Raylla, like, doesn't challenge her after this. I think she tries to, like, again, bargain. She's like, well, Scylla was telling me she loved me, but you're trying to protect me from something bad happening. And she's like, okay. But then Tally's like, just believe me. And so Raylla just looks really crushed because, like, what does she believe? Like, what she experienced and all the doubts that she still had with Scylla, which were never really answered. Plus, like, this other person that she's supposed to trust that was, like, gave her up and, like, all these things. And Raylla's just like, I don't trust you right now. And just, like, walks away. And I don't know that Raylla really trusts anything except her own experience, which was very conflicted this whole time. But the last piece she has of Scylla are, like, the dungeon scene we saw and then the ballroom scene. So that's like what's freshest in her mind, I think. And those are the happy feels she's clinging to. And like Tally's just like whatever and just watches Raylla walk away. And then they're clearing the area and Raylla walks past a car that has a whole ass garbage bag filled with air. And she stares at it for like at least 2 seconds. And then it's like, whatever. And keeps walking because Raylla's not there. Raylla is on the dance floor with Scylla and like in the dungeon. That's where Raylla's at. And Tally is like, I secured my area. Abigail secured hers. Raylla, what about you? And I think Tally sees that Raylla's like not there and Raylla's not listening to her. So she runs over to her and she's like, I think that's when Tally just is like, I can't be diplomatic anymore. And she just releases all of her frustration because from Tally's point of view, she's been sitting with all of this. This has all been weighing on her also, and it's just lets it all out. She's like, listen, hate me, but don't lie to yourself. Like you saw what I saw. And as they're arguing, I think Abigail sees the fucking giant garbage bag of like air and is like, oh fuck guys, like what are you doing? And at this moment, as Abigail's trying to rush over, Tally says the wrong thing to Raylla. Scylla is spree and Raylla throws Tally up against the car, and then I guess the spree work goes off in the bag and they all get plague on their face and start screaming. So the scene just ends in utter chaos because they got Avenue F'd.
What a way to end it.
But we all saw that coming. Thanks, Joy. Foreshadowing.
Yes, we did. That entire time Raylla's walking her. I swear, zombie is an apt word because I don't think she's actually seeing anything in front of her face.
No.
My other question is Abigail just not hearing them talk? Because they weren't that far apart.
No. Tally was doing her stage whispering she did at the wedding. Like, I think Scylla is spree, everyone. I mean, Mama Cassia. Yeah, they're full out yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And they're not that far away.
I'm suspending my belief, but at
Yeah.
the same time.
I'm just thinking that Abigail she was in her zone of being focused on listening and searching for spree stuff at the store shop. So maybe she's like, oh, they're talking about diffusing things. I don't know. And then again, when she finally clears that area and turns around, I think that's when she's focusing more on them and is like, wait, what the fuck are they doing?
And what is that giant garbage bag doing?
Oh my God, Raylla. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you. She's in zombie mode, and Raylla's not there. She's at the dance with Scylla. She's in the dungeon. She's not with Tally or anybody in this moment. She's in her own little world.
Oh my gosh. The ick crap on their face also was a little freaky.
It was freaky.
Especially when it was flashing on and off, and they're all like, because they have to put this on in post-production.
Yes.
They're holding their hands away from their face.
Right, because they're like, I don't know what's going to happen to me in post. Yeah, it's super weird.
It was just funny. But that leads us to the slumber party in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The title of our new Motherland book.
And Avenue F.
And Avenue F.
That's like a memoir.
Slumber party and Avenue F. Back at the pool here, there's the officer that do we ever get her name? I don't think we do. Just that she's lieutenant.
No, we get her. Is it the blonde one? Because we get her name later.
Yeah.
We do. I have it noted later when they say it, but I don't remember.
Right.
Again, I forgot 90% of this episode, including her name, so we'll get there later.
Okay. Someday we'll get her name.
Someday we'll get her name.
She's leading this shit show with Anacostia, who's explaining that this is a mild form of sound-borne plague. It isn't contagious, but they're going to have a really uncomfortable night, so I imagine they're super itchy and uncomfortable in the respect that they've got all of these welts or rash, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I have a question about this.
Okay.
On this show, when they say the word plague, what are they talking about?
I don't know, because it doesn't make any damn sense.
Correct. I think it's just this generic term, because this is not what the plague looks like. No. So for those that don't know, and I'm wondering if this was a altered history, and so the meaning of the plague as we know it is also altered, because the plague that we all commonly think about is Yersinia pestis is the organism, and it mostly manifests as a respiratory ailment. It can be in the skin, but not like this. And so when they're talking about plagues, they seem to be referencing these like skin ailments.
Yeah, it looks like leprosy.
Right, which leprosy doesn't really do this either, but it's like this weird like skin plague. So I wonder if we're going to see a history timeline later, but I'm wondering too if the plague, quote unquote, that hit this world was a different type of plague than the one that we know. I just found that really weird, because they seem to use plague multiple times in this show, and there are always these skin diseases.
You know what it really reminded me of, actually, was hidradenitis suppurativa, but not in the same places as it usually shows up.
Right. Yeah, again, super weird.
But whatever.
Just wondering if that was a world building thing.
Curious if that plays into the entire world, but hey.
And then I also had another question about because we're gonna get to the witch plague later, and so this one they're saying they also mentioned that this is sound-borne and it's not contagious.
They mentioned that since it's sound-borne, it's not contagious.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm wondering, did whoever created the witch plague as we know it, which is the thing that was infecting Kalita in the last episode, did they take this and somehow modify it into something that was contagious and wasn't sound-borne necessarily?
Good question.
Yeah, just because I forget how the beginning of the witch plague works, but it is contagious. So I'm wondering kind of what happened there too. I just thought that was interesting.
Another question for
Elliot.
Oh, my other question is it only on their faces? Do they have this all over their body?
Right. Was it only exposed skin? or is it everywhere?
Mm-hmm. I don't really see it on their hands that much.
No, not really. It's mostly like their face. Again, like what plague is this? It's very strange.
Good question.
Yeah.
Suspense of belief, I guess.
Yes, and it goes away in a couple hours.
Oh yeah, that part too.
Oh yeah, you'll be fine. It's not deadly. It's cool. Mild. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
Sleep it off.
But Abigail wants to know what the hell's going on with them. And Tally informs Abigail that she saw Scylla talking to a balloon, which does not register with Abigail. The what that means. She's kind of baffled until Tally tells her that it was in a mirror, and that's how the spree communicate. So Abigail immediately turns on Raylla and is angry that she brought a spree agent to her cousin's wedding. Like Raylla actively did that.
Right. As if Abigail was actively fighting Scylla over Charvel's dead body.
Exactly.
Right. I think she has PTSD right now, and then Raylla is having Scylla PTSD right now.
Yeah. It's not a good situation for anybody, but Raylla is... You might want to rethink saying that to her right now. That's just not a good look.
Still doesn't know how to talk to Raylla.
And Tally wants to revisit again and say that she was going to turn you over to them, and that's all I needed to know. I was protecting you. And Raylla just shoots right on back with, I don't need your protection. I need Scylla back. We're still in that middle ground of not to acceptance yet. But we get lights out after this, but there's still a little bit of lesbian Jesus light, if you notice. And then Raylla, they all lay down, but Raylla is only down for a hot second because she starts to see Scylla, the visions of Scylla in the cell. And she's reliving that scene. She can't deal with it, so she gets up to go and find Anacostia, and Tally and Abigail eventually get up and follow her.
Yeah, I do love the end because, Raylla's restless and just fucks off. And then Abigail and Tally don't say anything to each other. They just watch Raylla leave, and then they make this like silent pact with each other to be like, we're a unit. We have to go after her as a unit. Because really in this moment, Raylla is still putting Scylla above the unit. That's her priority still. That shifts later. But the unit is very much like unit first, like Tally and Abigail. So this is like Raylla's journey to like really fully trust her unit above anybody else kind of thing. But I love that they're just like, Abigail's like, yeah, I'm pissed at you. You might have been the reason my cousin died, but I'm going to put that aside because the unit's what matters right now. And I love that Abigail did that. I thought that was very big for Abigail. They're like, don't leave my sister behind kind of thing. But poor Raylla and her PTSD flashback. Also, can I note the realism that they, since we're all living in a pandemic right now, the fact that they quarantine them more than 6 feet apart from everybody else.
Yeah, they're at the other end of the pool, even though it's not contagious.
I know. That's what I love. Like, it's not contagious, but we're still going to quarantine your asses at the slumber party.
I feel like they put them in the dunce corner.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so funny. I was like, the realism hurts.
I think really what they didn't want to spread was the Avenue F.
Yeah, they didn't want to spread their Avenue F luck. But I thought that was funny.
That is funny. So funny.
Yeah. So from here we follow Raylla, and now we're in a blue light scene because Raylla's mind is with Scylla right now, and she's on Scylla protection mode. And this is where the creepiness comes into this episode. Because the first
we take a huge detour into what the fuck is this horror movie land with the creepy music?
Oh my God. We go from Avenue F to the pool to this. And it's like the first shot is this creepy painted wooden duck face and this like haunted circus music, and there's clown faces, and it's just like, why? I feel like
I want to know when the killer clown's gonna show up.
Yes. I was like, is that the spree boss? Like,
Ronald McDonald is the spree boss.
Yeah, because like, capitalism's the enemy.
Exactly.
It's a metaphor. Anyway. Oh. Yeah, so that would have been amazing. Whoever wants to continue that fan fiction, like,
go for it.
Do this part too. But anyway, and I to add to it, the subtitles, if you watch it, sometimes it reads distorted music plays in the distance. Because accurate.
Disturbing is like,
so like run, Raylla, you're in danger.
Exactly. You're blonde and you're a lesbian, run.
Yeah, you're gonna be the first one to get murdered.
Exactly.
So anyway, so this place is just Bad News Bears where she's at. But Raylla is, again, she's in Scylla land and can't see any of the creepiness, and she just keeps walking. And then it cuts to Tally and Abigail, who are not in the creepy clown area. For like, they followed Raylla, but they didn't follow Raylla. And so they end up in this building that looks like a school or a locker room.
It looks like a school locker room.
Yeah, exactly. So pool, I think they're in some kind of school locker room, and they stop in the hallway to bask in Raylla's light because they're looking for Raylla. So they're like, well, here's the light, where's Raylla? And also, like, what time is it? Isn't it nighttime? Why is there Lesbian Jesus light?
It's got to be like street lights or something, but why are this? I don't understand.
I don't understand why it's so powerful in this scene, but whatever. They're looking for Raylla. I'm going with that. And this is where Abigail is just like, okay, confronts Tally, because she's like, you knew, we're on this mission right now to go find Raylla because we believe the unit's important, but like, you didn't tell me that Scylla was responsible for Charvel's death. Like, I can't believe you did that. Like, if we're all unity. And Tally looks like hell. Like, Raylla is in zombie mode, and then Tally just looks like she hasn't slept in 3 weeks and just has a toddler. Like, she's like, I just can't even adjust like with life right now. And
Tally looks like she had 6 couplets and hasn't slept.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't want to be dealing with you, Abigail. And she's just like, Abigail, for fuck's sake. And then Abigail keeps going, like, how dare you not tell me right away? It was your responsibility to give me that information. Like, privilege check here, Abigail. But I think Abigail is also like projecting her like repressed everything about not being able to save Charvel herself, and was like throwing that onto Tally. And Tally breaks and is like, fuck this, and gets in Abigail's face and just yells, what would you have done if I told you? Like, stop her? Like, what were you gonna do? And Abigail just kind of freezes because I think she wasn't expecting Tally's big witch energy here. And Tally's like, listen, I was a good soldier. I went to my commanding officer, Anacostia. I told her. She gave me an order not to say anything.
Yeah, you should understand that more than anyone, Abigail.
Right, exactly. Totally. And you think Abigail would understand that, but I think she's still like Charvel triggered. And she just voices Tally's dilemma out loud and says, what about our unit? And like, this hits Tally, like she like pauses and her face kind of twitches because that was Tally's inner conflict this whole time. And Abigail's like, we have to trust each other. And I find this so interesting from Abigail because, like you said, like you'd imagine that Abigail, the bellwether, the best soldier that's ever going to live, would be like, okay, you did the right thing. You followed the army command. But she's here saying like, no. The unit needs to come first before the chain of command. So I found that really interesting that she's prioritizing their unit dynamics before like army orders.
She's done a 180 in a way.
Yeah.
But no, totally. I also want to ask a question, and I know that Abigail's not making sense right now. But when the fuck would Scylla have time to kill Charvel and get her vocal cords out?
Right, that already happened by the time Tally found Scylla in the bathroom.
Like, when did she do that, clean up, and come back to the party?
Right.
I imagine
it wasn't Scylla.
It wasn't Scylla.
Right, capturing Scylla would have changed absolutely nothing in this whole scenario.
And like I said, I understand that Abigail is not making sense right now, or not seeing the sense in what she's saying, and that there could be other, like she's thinking that Scylla was working with someone or whatever. But at the same time, girl, stop trying. Just stop.
Yeah, I think it's, again, Abigail kind of grasping at straws of like the what ifs, what I could have done differently to save Charvel. And so I get that from her perspective. If like, well, if I would have known this information and I could have confronted Scylla, maybe Charvel would be alive. So like, I can see that.
We're right back to Abigail has no control, and she needs to be in control to feel safe.
Well said. Yeah. And again, like Charvel, that whole situation was like the first unsafe experience she ever had. So well said. That's exactly what it is.
I also think that Abigail's realizing that the army isn't always going to make the safe decisions for them, and that they're going to have to protect themselves.
Ding. That is the big theme in this whole episode. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just
Waka
weird
waka.
that it's weird that this early in the episode, you already see her like
Mhm.
making that decision between those two things, which is
Yep.
weird. Yeah. But yeah,
Pull
interesting.
up that theme and let's go with it.
Yeah. And so basically when they're in this we need to trust each other scenario, high pitch ringing interrupts them and two goons come in and Abigail recognizes the pitch as Tally's trying to wind strike them and is like, okay, this is the Charvel spree stuff. Like, she's like, hey, it's not going to work, hand to hand only. And they start fighting and like the goon grabs Tally and then like we cut very rudely away from them. So they're brawling and then we cut away.
This is the worst possible person to use that on. The thing with the high pitch that keeps them from doing work.
Yeah.
Worst person to use that on.
Tally?
No, Abigail. Let's trigger
Abigail.
the PTSD girl.
No. 100%. The goons didn't do their homework. So, yeah. But again, like, I find it really interesting. Like, we need to trust each other. And then Abigail gets immediately thrown into the Charvel situation. And is like,
yep.
Here we go.
Charvel 2.0.
Yep.
But that leads us to Raylla, who's found her way into some kitchen somewhere.
What is this carnival? Why is there a kitchen? This place makes no sense.
It's an industrial kitchen. It looks clean.
I know. I know everything else in this whole Avenue F looks like F, and like except this kitchen. It's pristine.
This kitchen where they make
who's keeping up this
meals
area
every day.
Yeah, who's upkeeping this army training area is my question.
Everybody made sure to do their side work before they left for the night because it looks perfect.
It's so weird.
And then we get Helen Graves 2.0. Not nearly as fun as Scylla Helen Graves.
Okay, I literally wrote that in my notes. I was like, I like it much better when she was Scylla. This one's all business and no play.
Oh my god, I think really what the thing is, we just like Scylla. But no, I really do like the other version of Helen Graves better. So she sees Raylla, who's wandered into this kitchen for God knows why she thinks Anacostia is going to be in there.
I know, because she loves cooking. We know Anacostia loves cooking.
She's shooting her Food Network special on the side. I don't know.
Mama's baking cookies. That's right.
Yeah. Baking cookies for all her babies.
Raylla, come on now.
Exactly.
Well, Raylla's a bad spy like Scylla, so
yeah. It's like, soldiers, state your business. This is not the Helen Graves I like.
No.
It's the real Helen.
I know.
I'm so disappointed.
It's still nice to see you, Helen, by the way.
Yeah, no, we love to see you.
Actress, we love you.
Yes. So Raylla calls her by name, which confuses Helen. And who wants to know how she knows her name. And Raylla's like, it's me, your BFF from guard duty. Duh. And Helen's like, I don't know who you are. And I don't know Scylla Ramshorn. Who the hell's that? And it's been years since I've had to walk guard duty, which, God, thank you. That makes way more sense than the lieutenant walking guard duty.
And my question is, why do you think Scylla picked Helen to cosplay?
That's it. Because she's terrible.
Well, also, I'm wondering, she's terrible. But I think that this was actually a good spy move. I think she picked somebody Raylla had a very slim chance of running into IRL. So I think it was actually a good move because she's like, well, I'll pick this random necro in War College. Raylla's never going to meet. So like this will never come up with Raylla.
Why is Helen at Citydrop though?
Exactly. She's exactly. That I don't understand because they needed to like further this plot, I think. But
that is why.
Why is Helen actually here?
What does she have to do with Citydrop?
Any of this?
So
yeah, are all of these people quote unquote running it aside from Anacostia in War College? Is that part of War College?
Maybe.
I don't know. This is never explained. We're just throwing that out there.
Maybe they're like, it's the project. Like they had to put it all together.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they have to like, as part of their like methods to fight the spree. Cause like in War College, they learn off canon work. So like maybe they're the facilitators.
Clinical flashbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Right. No, exactly. I think that's what this is. And they organize it.
That makes more sense. I'm glad we talked this out.
Yeah. But
I feel better about life now.
Yeah. I think Scylla picking Helen was a good move because what were the odds? Raylla was going to see her. So, but yeah, the lieutenant, and again, Raylla hates the army, so she's like, "Oh, someone in war college doing guard duty? Sure, that's normal."
Yeah. Raylla would not question it. Let's be honest.
She didn't. She's still not questioning it.
No, she's not.
She's like, okay, weird.
Yeah. So Raylla's not giving up on the fact that they know one another, and Lieutenant Graves is like, get back, or I'm gonna declare you AWOL, and you don't want that. But I'm sure as heck gonna find out why you know me. And then we go back to the fight, where Abigail and Tally are holding their own against these officers. I have a question. Are they just that badass, or are these officers sucky?
This whole thing makes no sense to me, this whole nighttime stuff. But yeah, why are they getting their asses kicked?
They're seriously getting their asses
kicked.
kicked.
It's weird. I mean, I can understand why Abigail's kicking ass hand to hand right now because she lived this and she's being triggered right now. But like, what about Tally? When have we ever seen Tally be good at hand to hand?
We haven't.
No.
Tally's never been. We've never had any indication that Tally was a natural with hand to hand combat.
Right.
Because she seems like she is when they're fighting.
Yeah.
Every move that she's making is like really is a great, move. The fight coordinator, great job, because this enclosed space had to be hard.
Yeah, totally.
To work with.
Right, exactly. It like odds are against them in that regard too. And
exactly.
Tally's doing well. Like since when?
You would imagine these officers have a lot more experience in situations like that.
Yeah, totally. It's very weird.
But, I mean, the main point of this scene is to put Abigail into PTSD mode where she's creaming the crap out of her enemy, if you will, and will not stop punching them. And let me just point out that the officer that runs in and is like, stop! Doesn't do anything.
No, literally.
But stand there, and Tally has to be the one to pull her off.
I know. Can't you put Abigail to sleep or something to make her stop doing this?
Thank you. You're just or go grab her. You're literally standing there telling her to stop. It's the most ineffective way.
It's dumb. It's almost like she didn't give a shit what happened to that other officer.
You're gonna fail your final in war college, basically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Whatever.
Jesus. But yeah. Anyway. Do you have anything else on this?
Yeah, just the very, very end where what ends up bringing Abigail out of it is Tally, and then Raylla shows up.
Yeah, her unit.
Yeah, and Raylla is the one who's just like, Abigail, look at me, like, you're okay. And like Abigail, like Tally's holding Abigail back, and Abigail is like clutching Raylla, and when Raylla like gets through to her, like through the PTSD and all this stuff, you see it closes up on her hand, and Abigail just like lets go. And it's just like this letting go of her pain and rage, and it's just beautiful. And Ashley, you were so good in this whole scene. Like,
thank you because I forgot to make a note about that. And I like that. I loved that they had her blood covered hands just.
Yes. It's so powerful because
like
this is so triggering for Abigail, and you can see it in the fight. Like there's moments where you just see the pain on her face, but she just like has to like, she's trying to like redeem herself, so she just puts it away, puts her angry face on, and just goes after them, and just
she's right back in those moments.
She's in that moment where she's trying to save Charvel, and like she's not really in this fight. She is fighting Charvel's attackers, and and the one that breaks her out. I love that it's Raylla that breaks her out of it, because Raylla's in the same situation. She's back at the wedding with Scylla. So like they're both not in this situation, but they connect with each other, and they again put their unit and their unit dynamics above like all this other stuff that's going on. And that's what like tethers them to reality. So I think it's a very, very powerful moment for their unit dynamics. And it's just Ashley, well done. Like the whole scene was beautiful the way you played it. I love it.
I agree.
Yeah.
They all did a good job, but Ashley killed it.
It was beautiful. And almost killed that woman.
And almost killed the officer.
Yeah, but that officer sucked, so, well, whatever. So, from there, we go back to the slumber party, where the lieutenant, her name is Lieutenant Purpoint. That's the blonde woman.
What is this name?
I don't know. But what is this scene? Okay, so basically what's happening is everybody else, I guess it's daytime, and they're all up in formation in the, the pool. And then all the lieutenants, the bloodied ones, and Purpoint, who's giving the speech, are up there with our unit. And they're like, well, our first enemy combatants were defeated. And like, why the hell are they praising the unit? The unit just went AWOL from the slumber party and like fucked off and were just kicking ass of rogue spree agents while they went AWOL from what they were ordered to do. So like, nobody reprimands them for doing that. They're just like, great job, guys, you killed the combatants. Like, what is this? Anyway, it's just weird. And the cadets that were sleeping are now like stomping. They're like, yay, spree agents were killed. And like, it cuts to like the bloodied whatever officer, I can't think of the word, that Abigail was kicking her ass, and Purple is just like, whatever, enough of the stomping, like whatever. And then it cuts to the unit again, and we see at this point it has to be morning because like the plague's gone from their faces. And at this point, what she ends up scolding the bellwether unit for is continuing to fight after the threat was neutralized. And Abigail looks really ashamed of this because, again, she wasn't in the headspace of like Citydrop. She was somewhere else when this was all happening, and just looks ashamed. And it cuts to Libba watching Abigail like she's real concerned. There's lots of sightings in this episode. Lots. And the key phrase is said by Lieutenant Purpoint, who says, when you're in battle, you represent nothing less than the American military. So like, you're not supposed to just murder everybody. Like,
I don't know. Have they met the American military?
I know. I'm like, okay, propaganda, sure. And then something interesting happens here. So then at this point, when they're like, hey, don't like, after they're neutralized, stop beating the shit out of them. And then these other like officers or somebody with soldiers with red armbands with a cross on them haul the pummeled girls out of there. And so I was trying to figure out, like, is this version of like the Red Cross? Because like the colors are wrong.
I thought they were fixers, just like the fixer unit.
Are they? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So that, I guess the fixers have like
combat medics.
Have a armband. Interesting. I was trying to figure out what that was. Mm-hmm. Cool. Combat. So Raylla, that's going to be you one day, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. And so she's like, great, you killed those, you killed them or whatever. So now here's our next mission. There's a high school, a clique east of here. They're spree agents. Like, go inside and like get them and bring them out alive, basically. And like gives Abigail side eye. Then they're dismissed. And you can see like the last shots of like Abigail, who's just like, who still looks really out of it. Like she's still in PTSD land, but like, poor Abigail. I feel so bad for her.
Yeah, I want to know, do they not know what happened to Abigail? This is my question, because
I don't think so.
Ma'am, have you heard of PTSD? They need therapists.
Nobody has therapy in the show. So no, I don't think they know what therapy is. But also, like, I wonder how much they know, because Alder's still trying to like cover up shit. DL. Yeah, cover up what happened there, really. So who knows? Maybe they don't know.
I mean, they have to know that someone was killed.
Yeah, like I don't think a bellwether dies and people don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's weird. Or it's like, hey, if this is simulating a real battle, even if you lost people, you got to get your head in the game. So maybe it's just that like brush it off soldier attitude.
Maybe.
I don't know. Who are these? What happens in War College? Like, it doesn't seem good if this is what the result is this exercise.
And I also feel like they were already at the high school because of the locker rooms and the pool. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you mean there's another school? Like, what is this area?
Like, were they at the middle school and now they're going to the high school? I don't understand.
Right. Me neither.
Whatever.
Anyway, doesn't matter. But same.
We're just going to move on and run to the school. So everybody's running. Libba and Abigail are in the front. When they stop, Libba actually gives Abigail some nice advice.
Oh, Libba. She just loves Abigail so much.
And this is the point at which I started to worry about Libba.
Yep. No, I was like, why are we getting so much Libba screen time? I was going to bring this up. I was like, the first time I watched this, I'm like, she's getting a lot of lines and screen time. Something bad is going to happen. And the second this happens to Isadora, I'm going to get really upset. Like, something bad is about to happen.
I will probably have to talk you down off of something.
Yeah, what is happening? I will flip tables.
I will be right there with you, but
yeah, same. I was starting to get worried about Libba at this part of the show. I was like, what is happening? Danger.
So they're going into this high school like they weren't already in the high school, and they're supposed to be searching for these quote unquote spree agents. But they're not being subtle at all. They're just acting like they're casually walking through this school looking for people, not paying attention, not being stealthy at all.
Again, it's more evidence they weren't ready for this. Like,
Yeah.
even this simulated thing.
And Libba's like, we should fan out. And I'm like, if anyone was in there, they would have heard that.
I know. But I do love that, like, Libba recognizes that Abigail is just not here, and she just takes over. She's like, I will be the leader then, like, if you can't do it. I love it. I like that she, the
For
way
all
she
their
behaves.
fighting over being a leader, they really, I feel like they really do support each other at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. I do love Libba a lot in this episode.
But we get an interesting little turn when Tally kind of takes over the leader role in the unit.
Yeah, because Abigail's not here right now.
Abigail's not here.
Yeah.
And says that she'll navigate. Abigail's going to watch their backs like she's in any mindset to do that. And Raylla should identify and apprehend. Which leads Abigail to make a crack about Raylla bringing Scylla to the wedding and how she can she's definitely the person we should send to find more spree agents.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
But I love it. Raylla doesn't love it.
Raylla absolutely does not love it. And, you know, I think that we're at the point where they're really getting under Raylla's skin with this, because she's not in the mindset to really accept what was going on. But Tally is trying to drill this into her head. She's not fluffy Tally right now at all. She is serious, like, war Tally. What if there was another reason? And she will not let Raylla go until that point sinks in. So that's when she actually, I think she sees that it gets to Raylla, and so she lets her walk away.
Yeah, so. 100%. Poor Raylla.
Yeah, really, I think this show should be called Elliot Lawrence Tortures Raylla for 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, like, forever. Like, Raylla's always getting tortured. Do you think season 3 will be any different? Raylla's still gonna get tortured.
It's gonna be horrible, but I'm trying not to think about it.
I know. I love the dramatic shot they have after Tally's like, what if there's another reason? They do this weird dramatic shot from far away of the two of them in the hallway for like a hot second, and then it cuts back to them in like a medium shot. And I'm like, why? There's just like for no reason. But anyway.
Because they could, and it was fun.
I know. I was like, look at how far away we can do the shot. Anyway.
This hallway is
so
cool,
it's
and
so
we're going
long.
to show it. This is a long hallway, and we're going to use it. My
It's
God.
so funny. But then the scene ends with, so Abigail's the only one who's like listening to Libba and fanned out, is like checking doors. And then she comes out of this classroom real fast and is like, clear! And like as Libba and her unit are marching by, and they just look at her like, great.
The fuck, dog?
The fuck? Yeah, keep that to yourself.
Like, why you have to
so
know
funny.
that?
Right? It's so funny. Go back and watch that. Libba side-eye hilarious.
Please do it.
So funny.
I feel like they joked. I feel like the behind the scenes for this episode had to be so fun.
Oh my God, for real.
All these goobers.
It's hilarious. And after Abigail clears whatever room that is, she goes into this history classroom, I assume, because...
Are you going to go into the timeline?
Yes, ma'am. So, there's a big
history
timeline.
Nerd!
There's a big timeline on the chalkboard of the history of the world, thanks to Sarah Alder, basically. And so I want to spend a moment going through this timeline, and it shows... Oh, you have it too?
I wrote it down.
Perfect. It shows how Sarah Alder altered everything, basically. So it starts with the Salem witch trials, and the date is 1692, which is when the Salem witch trials happened in our timeline. So this is when Sarah Alder sang the seed that changed the world. This is when the witch army was starting to be created with like pre-America's abolitionist group. And then in 1735, according to this timeline, that's when the War for Independence started, which is much sooner than when it actually happened in our world. So in America now, this War for Independence happened in 1973 to 1983. So Alder and her witches enabled this to happen much sooner. Or I'm sorry, 1773. I apologize. 1773. So this happened like almost 40 years sooner because of Sarah Alder and her witches. So women get things done. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse. Then in Motherland, in the 1800s, it just says 1800, First Mexican War. So in American history, in our world, there was only one Mexican War, not multiple, and it happened from 1846 to 1848. So not only did this happen much sooner, but apparently it didn't go so well, and there was a second one from 1810 to 1812 for reasons that are not explained at this point. And so this is the Second Mexican World War. This is the Battle of Juarez. This is the Jem Bellwether story. So it sounds like that was pretty brutal because of how Jem died and what was going on there, but that was that. So that was Jem's era was the 1810, 1812. Then we have the American Civil War, which happened shortly after 1840, 1842, which happened in the 1860s in our world. Then we get World War. And very interesting, there is no other World War. It's just World War, which happened from 1908 to 1911. So World War I in our world happened in the 1914 to 1918. So kind of closer in time, which is interesting, but there's no World War II that came out of that. Which is, I don't know what happened. Again, this is not explained, but fascinating. So it seems like that was the big war, and then we're like, cool, we don't need to do this anymore. And then just, that was it. So I guess Europe was in a better position after this one. And then The Hague, interestingly, this one I have the most questions about. It says The Hague was founded in 1940s. And I assume they just mean the witch Hague. So what I could find about The Hague in our time, The Hague could actually be traced back to the 1300s. But like the modern Hague as we know it, that's kind of stemmed out of all these global conflicts, happened in 1899. Like that's when that kind of first started coming about. So I don't know what the hell happened here, but I guess the witch Hague is what they're referring to. It happened in the 1940s, way, way, way after the World War, which is a very interesting, like it's almost like they don't correlate, which is
because weird. The need for a Hague-like organization was being talked about after, I mean, it was like World War II was right. At the end of that, they're like, hey, I mean, it was talked about after World War I too in a different kind of thing, but I'm just talking about as a world organization to look over, make sure this shit doesn't happen again.
Right, which is why I found it really interesting that it's like 30 years after the only world war they have. I would figure it would happen sooner, but since for the reasons you just stated. Weird. Then in the 1960s, we have the Chinese Civil War, which happened in the 1920s to the 1949 in our world. And then it's just from the 1960s on, it just says proxy wars, which is, I guess, kind of accurate. But what's happening now, because it's just like random wars that America starts after here. And they have at the very, very end, somewhere after that, it just says Rise of the Spree. And there's no date attached to that, which I find really interesting. But per Elliot, the spree happened like 20, 25 years ago from where we're starting this whole situation. So the spree happened somewhere after these proxy wars started happening. What I find super interesting, though, is that there's no wars in the quote-unquote Middle East, given that the big, like, contention thing happening is the Tarim, which seem to be located in that, like, deserty part of the world by, like, Russia. That would be, like, the contested area. So it's like, how do we get that situation? It doesn't seem like that correlates with any of these wars.
Unless it's being folded into the
proxy wars, I guess. But I find that really interesting. So that must be like a modern thing, I guess, is the whole Tarim situation.
Like, how long have the Tarim been persecuted?
Yeah, good question. I would imagine since all these world wars were happening, since they're the big group that's like, we're not participating in any of this. So I just find it interesting. There's no like how were they displaced in the first place? Where did they really come from? Like, interesting.
It's interesting. I don't know. It's just, I would really love to dive into how Elliot altered history, like what his timeline versus like what were his thoughts concerning this timeline versus our timeline.
Exactly.
And why did witches change those conflicts and the formation of the Hague?
Yeah.
Why is it only witches? Why is, are we just seeing the witches and there's a civilian arm of the Hague?
Correct. Yeah, great question. I would love to know the details of how he came up with this, but like the overall theme is just like Sarah Alder literally changed the timeline of history and the events. So not all the events happened that we know of, which is fascinating.
Yep.
But yeah, I would love to know what his thought process was for this, and if we're ever going to see some of these things and like why they happened, kind of thing.
Yeah, more history.
Fascinating.
Very fascinating.
Yes. So while Abigail walks past this altered AU history timeline, she hears this like muffled moaning in a closet and the door is kind of shaking. So she's like, oh, someone's in there. And she doesn't hear the spree music playing that we all hear. And she goes to inspect this door. And the minute she grabs it, it all stops. It's just like dead silent. And there's a goon in a beanie behind her who starts like whispering. And Abigail turns and like lights start exploding. And then they start brawling. And then Abigail brings her sexy, angry face to this fight that she got from Mama Bellwether. And she knocks the goon to like the ground for a second and like gets up to like attack her. But then the goon just like flies back into the wall. And she turns around and Libba and her unit came to the rescue and like wind strike the bitch into the wall. Because nobody's allowed to mess with Abigail except Libba.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was going on in Libba's head, probably. And Abigail like takes a second to like check out Libba because she's like, well, that was hot. And then they flirt for a hot second. And then Abigail essentially apprehends the goon and like ties her hands and then puts this like, not a silencing collar, but this little like silencing thing that goes over her mouth so the goon can't do work anymore. And then I have to point this out. So that it cuts back to the Swithe unit. And I don't know what's going on in the Swithe unit, but like one of the girls is like checking out the other one in the background. Go back and watch this. So something's going on in the Swithe unit. And then
this is the gayest show ever.
It's the gayest. And like that couple is the one that takes away the goon because they want alone time. And that leaves Libba with Abigail. So that works out for those two.
There you go.
And they start flirting and they're like, let's go hunting, girl. And they kind of like swagger out of there. As those couples are off doing their thing, it cuts to Raylla in her Lesbian Jesus night, like lurking outside the building in a window. And she notices Tally in the middle of a battle with a different quote unquote spree goon. And Raylla's like, ah, fuck. So she runs into this room to save Tally. And then we get apparently a new thing Raylla can do. And in this situation, like Tally is like defensively fending off whatever this goon is doing. And Raylla creeps up behind her and she says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And the goon passes out. And this passage she's quoting is Matthew 11:28. And it's a very interesting thing. So in this line is something that Jesus said. So lesbian Jesus, hydrate yourself. Literally quoting Jesus. And basically in this Bible verse, he's inviting tired and weary people to like kind of come with him. And like, he's like, hey, I'll take on all your burdens. And like, you've been working hard and you're exhausted. And like, I'll take on all those burdens for you so you can finally rest. So I find this really funny because like this woman is like putting all her strength to like try and knock out Tally and it's getting nowhere. And Raylla's like, don't worry about that, girl. I got you. Just rest. And then she knocks her out. So it's really kind of funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, it's so funny. But apparently Raylla now knows how to do Christo-pagan, like focused knocking out people. Off canon. Where did she learn that from?
She's no longer knocking everyone out like she did in the previous episode. She's like singling one person out. So she's just learning to control her shit, basically.
But like, who taught her this? Like, Isadora didn't teach her this. This is like session magic. Like, where did she? Did Mama call her? Be like, hey, listen, I know the fixing's great and all, but if you ever need to knock out a goon, like, say this.
Well, she did it with her session magic before.
But she was saying her healer prayer. That she normally
says.
Can
just use.
She's just like, maybe this will work. I know enough Bible verses. I'm lesbian Jesus.
I honestly
Maybe.
just think it was. I think that it's just part of. I don't know that the words matter as much as the intention.
But like, did Raylla practice this beforehand? Is my question, or did
Oh
she
yeah,
just like, I hope this works? Like,
she's
who did
been
she practice
knocking
this on?
squirrels out at Fort Salem for weeks.
Did no one notice all these like dizzy passed out squirrels? Like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah,
Raylla's like
well,
twiddling her thumbs, like, do.
they
Like, nothing.
just figure they ate too many nuts, and
They're tired. I don't know. Weary souls.
exactly. I mean, the squirrels are sleeping on the ground.
Yeah,
Whatever.
just a question, because like this is off canon magic she's doing. So like the army didn't teach her this. This Raylla
No,
experimenting is my question somewhere.
either that or off screen, Isadora's been like,
Yeah, Isadora's like, I've been reading up on session magic, so let's experiment, shall we? Let's see if we can teach you
mm.
things. I believe that. Isadora lost Scylla, so she needs a new like pet project.
And Raylla was connected to Scylla, so why not?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Her new little mentee.
I like that. Isadora taught her this. Because I was like, I don't think Mama Collar taught you this before she like pieced out. So anyway.
She would have been able, she wouldn't have had it. Yeah, no.
No. I believe the healer stuff, and then when she was doing healing magic, she just couldn't control everything and was like, wow, I really wish you would shut the fuck up, Tree Fine, and then everybody in the room shut the fuck up. So
yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe like Isadora's like, hey, you should go like learn how to do that for real, and maybe Raylla did some research.
Probably.
Yeah. I think this came from Isadora. I like that. That makes sense.
I don't think research is the right word. The research would have been her sleeping squirrels. But
yeah, I mean, research to find this verse that she was looking for. She's like, oh, okay. This one. Let's experiment.
Oh, this sounds like you're putting people to sleep.
Yeah, she's like, well, Jesus was putting people to sleep.
Rest.
I can put people to sleep.
I can do this.
Yeah, I got it. These words make sense to me.
Go.
So anyway, after Raylla, lesbian Jesus knocks out this woman, like Tally thanks her. She's like, thanks, you just like actually saved me. And Raylla just doesn't say anything. She's just very like neutral faced. And then Abigail and Libba rush into the room together without the other two Swithe unit members because they're like making out somewhere. And Abigail's just very thrilled that like she's like, oh good, you guys are fighting the spree and not each other, because that's the point of this whole exercise.
It's a step up from where we were earlier.
Yeah, she's like, step up, let's get out of here. So they get that goon out of there.
It just signals that we're starting to get to the point where Raylla and Tally are going to be on good terms again, and Raylla's getting to the, okay, fine, my girlfriend was a fucking spy.
Yeah, she's slowly getting to the acceptance stage of the 5 stages of grief.
Mm-hmm. But alas, we go from the unit back to the war, or not back to, but we go to the war room where Alder has all of her folks around. We've got General Clary and Isadora, who's
I forgot about this scene. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh. I guess
Isadora is in charge of the big screen TV this time.
She is. No white coat. This is combat Isadora.
Yeah, it's combat Isadora and not casual combat Isadora.
No, like swoons and gay on this one.
Her freaking facial expressions kill me in this
scene.
My
god. It's so good.
Her serious face is seriously hot.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Alder looking at this image of the spree munitions factory that Anacostia ripped out of Scylla's head. And we're looking in the magic mirror, and Alder asks Isadora for a status. So Isadora is receiving far speech communication from the strike team, who is confirming that this is the spree installation and that the 6th floor is an armory. So Clary pipes up with like, where's your intel coming from? Because nobody knows that they had Scylla in custody.
Right. Clary has the brain cell in this war room. She's like,
yeah,
what the fuck? Where is this coming from? Like, how do you know this?
Yeah, no one really ever questions where Alder gets her intel.
Right.
Except Clary, who's now getting to the point where there is a certain faction within the military that's starting to question everything Alder does.
Correct.
And Clary is one of those people. So basically, we get the strike team in the magic mirror. 2 big trucks are driving past and they don't even fucking pay attention to them.
Thank you. Why was no one tailing these trucks? They're just like, oh, we'll let them go.
Yeah, bye-bye. TTFN.
Again, everybody in the show's a bad spy. This proves it. They literally watched them leave. And we're just like, whatever. That's not weird.
And they're casually sneaking up to this building when Alder gives the order to breach and Isadora relays it to the strike team. But we cut away from there and we're back to Citydrop again.
Wait, before we cut away.
What do you want to say?
Before I cut away, what was Isadora doing off screen, real quick?
Here we go.
The real one. This is not the bonus segment. This is the scheduled one. So I totally forgot Isadora was doing this. And so when because again, I forgot most of this episode. So when I saw her on screen, I was like, oh my god, Isadora's out of the lab. So how did this happen? So I think that anytime Isadora leaves the lab, she like pulls a Leslie note for Parks and Recreation and like has to leave one of the other Necros in charge of the lab. And so I think she like has to brief this person and she like creates like 20,000 binders of like what to do. And so she's like, okay, listen, I'm going to be out of here. Like you're going to be in charge of the mycelium. This is what you do if it gets sick, if it's happy, this is what you sing it when it goes to sleep. You know, if it's winter, this is how you take care of it. And like the Necro minion is like looking at all these stacks of binders and it's just like, wow, Isadora, I can't believe you're getting deployed. How am I going to do this? And Isadora's like, deployed? No, I'm going to Alder's office for like an hour. Like just, you know, these are all the binders in case something goes wrong, just so you know what to do. So I think that's what Isadora was doing off screen. She's prepping the temporary like Necro that's going to be in charge for like the hour she's in the war room with like all of these emergency disaster plans should anything happen in her absence.
She's prepping her lieutenant to take care of
literally everything.
Putting the mycelium in a high chair and feeding it.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's just stacks of binders just about the mycelium. And she's like, great, but we got to talk about the other stuff too, about the morgue and like just like binders everywhere. And this poor Necro's like, God, I hope she comes back.
You got to make sure you spritz my mushroom garden.
Yeah, here's the spritzer. I got it from Alder.
Not a euphemism in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It sounds like one.
And then I just have one kind of quick question about the magic Isadora's doing. So I thought it was weird that it was, first of all, her doing it.
What is she doing there?
Right. Why is she the one doing it? And my question is like the big scry thing, because it's almost like a third party is like looking at whatever it is and they're communicating with it and putting it on the big scry versus like when the witches normally do this, they just put it, they're taught to use the scry to get it in their mind. That's how Anacostia taught them. That's why I think Tally's like, I don't need a scry. I already got it. So, but I guess maybe to project it onto a screen like that is a different kind of magic. And my question is it necromagic? Is that why Isadora's doing it? Like, is Clary also in necro? Her specialty's never explained, but like, I'm just kind of curious. Like, why is Isadora seems like a really weird choice for this. So I'm just wondering, is it a necro thing? Is she like using her spies, like, I don't know, mushroom pollen to do this? Like,
is there a freaking zombie walking behind the?
Yeah, are there crows that are looking at this Baylord, and that's how we're getting this image? She seems like a weird choice for this. I was just trying to make sense of it. I don't know. You have any thoughts?
Did they just want to put her in a scene?
I think that's part of it. I was just curious.
I agree.
Like, a
let's
magic
put her in any scene.
Yeah, she can do it all. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she can freaking drive Alder's car for all I care, but just put her in there.
Yeah, but I just thought it was weird because Clary was the one doing it in the other war scene when Clary's daughter died, and Clary's not doing it here. It's Isadora. So,
well, the only other thing I'll add is that there were only three people besides the biddies that knew about Scylla being captured, and it was
true
Anacostia, Isadora, and Alder. So that may be a reason that she's there, because she's one of the only other people that knows where the intel came from. So, and then I'm like, they obviously had Clary there because that's her role. She's Clary. So
yeah, just interesting that Isadora was doing the projecting and not Clary.
The only other, and because I always assumed the reason that Isadora was in on her being captured in the first place was because of her being a necro.
Right, me too.
Possibly because she had some skill with extracting information, but we didn't see any of that. It was all Anacostia.
Right. That's why I was wondering too if this, like, because they always say like necros are good for intel. I'm like, is this necro magic where they're doing the intel by projecting this?
Was
I don't know.
the food thing necro magic by some?
Maybe the glamoring of the glass. Yeah, no idea. Maybe that was Isadora in the background is like, haha, I think that's salami.
You eat that salami, girl.
I know you like that food.
I know her favorite food. She's my little minty.
Exactly. Yeah, I buy that. I like that headcanon.
All right. We cleared that up. We're
trying to inject Scylla in this episode because
as much as possible because there's no Scylla.
There's no Scylla, and I'm mad.
I'm always not happy when there's no Scylla.
Me too. Like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Anyway, because I like the show.
Exactly. That's why we're here, because we love the show in its entirety. So, we're back to Citydrop. Anacostia and Helen are waiting for Raylla outside the high school, and they pull her over there, and they start questioning her about Scylla, basically, and what she wanted to know, what the person masquerading as Helen wanted to know, and they inform her that the spree agents can take on other appearances, and that one of them took Graves' appearance. So this is kind of a nail in the coffin of Raylla's grief process. She's getting to the point where she has to accept that Scylla was a spree agent because there's too many things aren't adding up, or too many things added up for it to be otherwise. So they ask her if Scylla could have had something to do with Porter. And Raylla doesn't really answer. So Anacostia sends Helen away. And this is where we see Raylla. Oh, God, I'm like getting choked up just because she breaks me with this.
The face journey. Because, like, again, these were the questions that were never answered for her.
Please tell me this isn't true.
Yeah. The Porter stuff. She's like, yeah, that was the thing. This is what I was thinking too.
So she realizes that Scylla had everything to do with Porter, and that she was the spree agent that everyone keeps telling her that she, or not everyone, but you know what I mean, that Tally says that she was. And then she just says, she said she loved me, which leads us to Anacostia saying the only time I've ever wanted to slap Mama Costia in the face. She's told you what you needed to hear.
Yeah.
Which I think is what she's doing right now.
Yeah, I think, which I can make sense of why she's doing this now, but also, like, she does a complete 180 later on this. Because Anacostia knows that Scylla loves Raylla, because that's the thing that broke Scylla, and she used to her advantage. But I think she's trying to do, like, an act of mercy here for Raylla, like, forget her, you'll be better off.
Yep.
But
that's, like, exactly what she's trying to do.
Yeah. And but, like, Raylla looks like she's about to have a breakdown. Like, I don't know. I feel like that also wasn't the thing to tell Raylla now.
No, it wasn't.
So, yeah.
It wasn't. And I think Anacostia let her need to give Raylla some comfort of some sort, which is not comfort.
No,
like in her mind, it was something that would make it better sooner.
Right. But it's like, you need to forget about this kind of thing.
Yeah. My last note on this scene is literally kill me now.
Yeah. Raylla's heartbroken face that we linger on, that was mean, Mr. Director.
Yeah, I needed some chocolate and tissues after that.
Oh my God. I know. Poor Raylla. Again, the whole point of the show is just torturing Raylla. Always.
Should really just rename it.
Yeah. Motherland, the torturing of Raylla Collar.
Avenue F. Raylla Collar.
Raylla Collar.
totally
mayor.
a song in the Motherland musical.
Yeah, for real. Like she's the mayor of Avenue F.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
Raylla's
after
mayor of Avenue F. Okay, and let me give a little shout out to Amber, friend of the podcast, who
Hi, Amber.
does a lot of edits off the fly when she's listening to the episodes. I know I'm gonna see an Avenue F edit show up in my Discord chat soon. As soon as this episode comes out.
I hope so. I want somebody to write this musical. Also,
I'm gonna write this musical.
I want the musical.
I'm tacking this on to my list of things to do.
Exactly. It'd be so good. Oh my god. So yeah, that was just I hated that line from Anacostia.
It was pain.
I get it, but then she just does a 180 later. I'm like, make up your mind, Anacostia. Like, whatever. Why do the 180? Just stick with this.
Yeah.
Forget her Raylla thing. Whatever. So from there, we go back to the war room where Alder and the gang are watching the Baylord attack go down on their giant wall scry. And at this point, trucks have fucked off and we're not doing anything about that. So the witch army's like, cool, they're gone, so they won't see us. So they go up to the building and they get in the formation to like charge through this door. But then before they can do anything, this like blue flame engulfs everything, including the building and the army, and just explodes everything. So it was like spree charm to just like go off in this blue smoke bomb. And everybody in the war room is completely shook by this, including Isadora. I think she's feeling so many things because, like we saw, I think she can kind of like feel when witches die, but like is like, holy shit. And they were also kind of connected with this group through like their far speech and like everything. So she's feeling the loss of life and loses connection with the scry, and the screen goes blank because I think she's overwhelmed. And Alder just looks like horrified because she's like, what the fuck? This was supposed to be my big victory with the spree. And like, that's the thing, that Alder's really on this just blindsided quest right now because she has to win points with the president that Alder doesn't really like. Like Lynn's mentioned this in like after the Storm interview. She's like, Alder and Wade don't really get along. So she's trying to like one up Wade, and like, anyway, so this is going wrong. And she's like, crap, I really needed this. My plan just literally went up in smoke. And Clary's just confused. Like, you had this intel from mysterious source and now this just happened. Like, why on earth would they just destroy their own armory? Like, we confirmed this was an armory. And Alder like sits with this for a second, and then she realizes what's happening. She's like, well, they must not need this anymore. Oh shit, the trucks. I guess they were important. We need to find the trucks. Like, Alder, you've been doing this for how long? Like, come on. They're all bad spies. So they finally figure out those trucks were important, and we cut away from all the confusion in the war room and into one of the trucks where Scylla's balloon handler from the mall attack is making a getaway. And we see she has this security badge with her actual face on it in the passenger seat that says Boston International Airport. So these trucks are that was from an armory is now hightailing it to the Boston International Airport. And they pass this like road sign that essentially says Boston Airport, and it's like 147 miles away. So they got a bit of way to go, but they're like hightailing it towards an international airport. So like globally, this can't be great. We go back into the war room where Isadora gets whispers from who? Like, who's she getting whispers from? Is it the dead witches? Is she getting necro whispers, mushrooms? Like, who is she getting this from? And she's like, we have this confirmed sighting now. The truck is headed towards the airport.
It's totally dead witches.
Yeah, it has to be. I think that's why Isadora's here, just in case something went wrong. So she can talk to dead witches. So yeah, necro magic, we're not getting explained, but I guess we're seeing. And Alder's like, cool, maybe I can somehow salvage this situation. And realizes that the closest group of witches that are capable of doing anything are the cadets at Citydrop. And Clary's like, what? I have to protest this, because Clary has the brain cell in the war room right now. And Alder's like, she already made up her mind, because she's like, no, we have to stop. I need a win with the spree. This could go really bad, and this could make us look even worse, and more people could die. We have to do this. This is the only thing we can do in the time allotted. And Isadora brings up the sore spot. She says, well, what about Wade? What if she found out? And Alder does not like this because she hates Wade. And she's like, listen, the cadets are the closest ones. We got to do this. And again, this is Alder in that mindset of just like power over safety. She's like, this is it. We got to do it. And there's bickering and with Clary, who's still protesting this. And then Alder's like, listen, whatever, they're going to do it. And she looks at Isadora to be like, okay, you're the far speech woman. Like, tell Mama Costia. And Isadora looks to Clary, which is weird. Like, she doesn't do it. She like almost looks to Clary like, Clary, should I do this? Which is interesting because we've never seen them interact before. And Clary's just like hanging her head. Like, she's like, I tried. This is my daughter 2.0. Something bad's going to happen to these women. And in her like silent observance of Clary having like PTSD about losing her daughter, Alder's like, are you refusing my order, Isadora? And Isadora's like, no. And I think Isadora's kind of struggling with this too, because I think she knows this is reckless also, but like they really don't have another option in reality. And that's the position that Alder's in. Like, an armory of the spree is just like rocketing towards an international airport, and like we have to do something. So Isadora's like, no, ma'am, I'll contact Mama Costia. And she goes off to do that. And Clary, you just see the coup wheels turning. She's just staring at Alder and just delivers the line of, well, I hope you know what you're doing. And Alder just like sits with this. And I think that Alder is actually conflicted by what's happening, because this obviously is not a position Alder wants to be in, but she's just desperate. It's desperate times. And this is Alder, like the head of the military, the person who's been doing this for 300 plus years, getting more extreme. Again, it's like, you know, that common thread that's stemming from like everybody trapped in this world. Like everybody's just getting more and more extreme. And like, this is Alder, who's flat out said, I ignore advice from the Hague all the time. I do me. This is her ignoring her own generals who are trying to warn her and just being like, nope, I know what's best. This is what needs to happen. And so it's just Alder's isolating herself, and Alder is just getting extreme. And it's kind of scary. Like when even the one at the top is being like siloed into this, like, I know what's best mentality. I don't need to listen to anybody kind of thing. And it's just
eerily similar to what we're experiencing in reality.
Yep. Sure is. So we all know this isn't going to end well.
So they send all of these people who don't get into war college out to fight on the front lines.
Uh-huh.
So they're sending basically the same people, except who haven't had a chance to see if they're going to go to war college or not. As far as they're untested and untrained in a advanced sense.
But also what's different about this group is, remember when they were learning Windstrike, I guess, Glory pointed out, she's like, hey, our training is being accelerated. So like, not only is this like you're saying, these would be the people that would be fighting the spree anyway, because they're the untested one. They're the ones that failed the test, which makes no sense. But this particular group of cadets are less prepared because their training has been accelerated. So they haven't gone through the same training as the ones currently out on the front lines have been. So like they're in an even worse position than like Clary's daughter potentially was, or her unit, or like those fighting with her that like are failing against the spree. So it's just a really extreme and bad situation.
And honestly, I think that Clary's unit was probably one of the most well-trained units in the army.
Correct.
And so they can't, if they go in there and get slaughtered by the spree, and now they're going to send these cadets
against the literal armory. Yeah.
Thank you. Who are not only, as you pointed out, or as I was saying, untrained, but as you pointed out, even less trained than a normal cadet would be at this point.
Right.
So,
bad news bears.
Like, yeah, I think that everyone has a problem with this from the perspective of, this really sucks. Like, this is not, you don't have a good choice, but this is not the choice. And Alder's like, but at the same time, this is the choice, and I'm going to make it. Even though I'm sending it, you know, like,
because I mean, from all the other, what's the alternative? The alternative is like we try to send somebody else after them who won't get there in time, and they take out an airport, or worse, that this spreads around the globe.
Basically, I really don't know. They don't know what the spree's planning either.
That
they just
too.
know they're going to the airport. They just think they're going to the airport. They don't know for certain they're going to the airport, honestly.
Right. No, totally. It's implied,
So,
but like
it's implied, but
also if they're going to the airport with truckloads of shit, it's gonna take them like a hot minute to like do anything with that.
So, but that's my question. Are they just going to park the trucks outside and do like an Oklahoma City bombing?
Right, or are they trying to get on a plane and go somewhere? Again, it's the spree, so honestly, there probably was no plan. Like, the spree, the Scylla's handler was probably in the truck being like, well, fuck, what are we gonna do? And, like, making this up as she goes along. So, to be honest, that's probably what the spree was doing. But like,
there was some calculation to this, as we'll see later.
Yeah, for sure. They have a plan B for when plan A, which is runaway, doesn't work. But yeah, it seems like they could have also sent another team to try and meet them, and like the last resort could have been these cadets. But whatever.
Or they could have sent someone to support the cadets, and like when they get there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Right.
Just like, guys. Bad idea.
Bad news bears.
So we're back with Citydrop, and apparently the cadets run everywhere here.
They're running.
They're running by as Anacostia gets the far speech from Isadora, and she does this big whistle to get them to all stop running, and gets them together and tells them that there's 2 trucks bound for Boston with mines, and that this is not a part of the exercise. This is real life. Which leads Glory to go vomit.
Poor baby Glory.
Poor baby Glory, but I'm with you, girl.
Yeah.
Abigail looks like she kind of won the lottery or something. She's like, I finally get to fight the spree.
Yeah.
But then she and Libba flirt some more.
They sure do. But before they do that, Mama Costia, when she gets the far speech, looks like, oh fuck, like she doesn't love this either. And then she tells the cadets, she tells them, I believe you're ready. Which, like, do you?
No, she doesn't.
How could you believe that, Mama Costia?
She's lying just as hard as she was when she told Raylla.
I know. Oh, Mama Costia. Who is this benefiting?
She's just this is going to be another layer in the unpeeling of Anacostia's trust in Alder.
Totally. Because she has to play the drill sergeant. She's like, well, I don't believe this, but you guys got to believe this or we're all going to die.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got to make you believe you can do it so we can get through this.
Exactly. Like, ugh. Yeah. It just sucks. Like, you just see, like, nobody believes in this. And, like, it just trickles down to, like, everyone in this cascade of army people. Everyone's put in a really shitty position by this.
It wasn't a good idea to begin with. Everybody knows it, and it's just gonna get worse from there.
Totally.
But yeah, the flirting takes place in the bat. So
honestly, we needed all this flirting to break up all the terribleness that's happening.
Good Lord, did we?
We really did. Thank you, Libba.
Yeah,
we needed this
for real.
Because Scylla wasn't on screen to flirt with Raylla, so we needed this.
They're trading good-natured insults at this point, so they're revisiting some of their old insults, but putting a
flirty
nostalgic flirty spin on it.
That's so cute.
Like a sweet little insult war.
Yeah.
But then we've got Raylla and Tally who are silently apologizing to each other through like telepathic communication.
I know. Raylla can't even say it. She just like is like so yeah.
Yeah, so I know and you know that I know.
Yeah, basically. And Tally's like, whatever.
Yeah. And Tally and Abigail share kind of the same thing.
Yep.
For a hot moment. Then Anacostia calls Raylla over and gives her a pep talk about the reason the spree targeted her is because she's strong. They get the strong ones. And Raylla's like, I don't feel strong. The fuck you talking about?
I know, you've been like bringing me down this literal whole time. What do you mean?
Why? I don't believe you now. Like, I don't feel. Well, obviously, she's in that spot where she's been betrayed and she feels the most vulnerable she's ever felt in her life, probably.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because she shared all these things with Scylla, and to her, in her mind now, it was all a lie. So, who can she trust besides her unit?
Yep.
'Cause Tally, I think she's come to realize that Tally was right as far as she was protecting her, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anacostia tells her to trust her unit; they'll get you through. But where did all this trust your unit stuff come from? If this is the first year they've done the unit thing.
Also, Anacostia says before she delivers that line, she's like, "I see you, trust them." It's like, where are you getting that? They've been just fighting with each other this whole time. What are you talking? Like, what does Mama Costia really see when she looks at the unit? Is my question. Because she's like, "Oh, I see Raylla's really strong immediately since day one," and then, "Oh, they clearly really trust each other," which is why they're always trying to kill each other. Like, what?
Are you trying to say, is this one of your like cover-up things where you see their potential that whole time, but you see them fighting at the same time? So you're like, if I say it, you'll believe it.
Right. Right. Like, what is this, Mama Costia? Make up your freaking mind.
Mama Costia is trying to gaslight Raylla into some positivity.
Oh my god! No! You are so right. Raylla gets gaslit the most on the show, and she's being gaslit by Mama Costia. That is exactly what's happening here. Holy fucking shit. Mind blown. Yeah. Mama Costia is gaslighting Raylla.
My god. I think Mama Costia is also trying to convince herself of a lot of things at this point. So just jump on the fucking train with that.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Also, put a pin in why the spree is targeting Raylla. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
We'll get back to
that. Mama Costia and Raylla kind of share a little moment. Anacostia looks out the window and sees that they're getting close to their drop point. And tells everyone to salva up.
Salva up, ladies. Like Flying Lady taught you, I hope.
Flying Lady. Did she really teach you?
That's what I'm saying.
Abigail's like, we got this. And then they jump.
Yep.
That's lots of jumping out of planes.
Yeah, we get to see them finally learn.
Helicopters.
Helicopters? Yeah. Flying machines. And they finally learned how to use their salva properly when jumping out of said planes.
Have they been practicing that on the side?
That's what they have to have been. Their lands are way too graceful. So,
well, not all of them.
Except Tally. She does it this time because we don't see her break her ankle, or she did and Raylla fixes her. We don't see it.
Right.
But anyway, so they fly through the air and land on the ground. And we see that at this point where they're landing is US 20 East is the road, and now they're 25 miles from Boston International Airport. So, like, these trucks were fucking hightailing it. So it's been like, maybe they're going 100 miles an hour, I would assume. So it's been an hour.
They have spree gas in them?
What is happening? Yeah, what is the actual timetable here? You cannot tell me you couldn't have sent a flying vehicle that could have met these trucks. Whatever. Anyway, because whatever. This is all ridiculous. So now apparently 100 plus miles have passed, and the cadets are already on the ground. So they've had time to land and then have some pep talk with Anacostia about what they're going to do, because no one was planning for this. And so they're in this like V Mighty Ducks formation with Anacostia.
Thank you! I was literally going to say that.
Hell yeah. And they're blocking the whole road, basically. And because of storytelling purposes, Anacostia is in the front of the V with Tally hovering over her shoulder. Front and center. And Raylla's next to her, then Abigail, then Libba, who's like not next to her unit, she's next to Abigail.
Yeah, what the...
Again, we needed the sapphic vibes to make us happy in this episode. So thanks for putting them together. And Anacostia is just telling them hold steady as these trucks are rocketing towards them. And it cuts from here to the war room. So we see that Alder and the gang are watching this. And now we're in the unstoppable force meets the immovable object scenario. And we're back at the cadets, who are just holding their ground against the trucks. And people start straight up panicking. And one girl just like fucks off from the V.
She's like, I'm out. Peace.
She just leaves. And like, yeah, it's so funny. Like, watch her leave. She's just like panicking in the background and just leaves. And then somebody next to Libba tries to do the same thing. And Libba's like, oh, hell no. And grabs this girl. She's like, fucking stand right there. I don't want to see this bullshit. And the trucks get closer, and I get to some distance where Anacostia's like, great, let's do it. And she's like, now. And they do a group wind strike. at the first truck, and they demolish Spree Handler's truck, and it fucks off to the side of the road. And for some reason, Anacostia is like, Raylla, go make sure no one leaves this truck. Why on earth? You know, Raylla is having a mental breakdown and is emotionally all over the place. So her work is compromised, and you're sending her, the one that was targeted by the Spree, by herself, after Spree survivors, which is insane because, as we see in a minute, the Spree know Raylla and know how to like work against her. So this was a really bad move by Mama Costia. But storytelling wise, it gives Raylla closure. But why did she do that? Whatever.
It's in service to the story.
Send Libba. Libba would have made more sense. Swythe's team, go get them. Whatever. This was dumb. The Swythe team should have gone after them. A unit should have gone. But she sends Raylla by herself. Sure. And then she's like, great, Tally, look inside the truck and tell me what's going on. And she sees there's like the pool toys and like basically they took the armory stuff, put it in this truck that's parked very far away from them now because it saw first truck explode. And she's like, great, there's people in there chanting, which one of the people looks like Gemma Whalen. And I was so confused. And I'm like, why is she on this show? If you don't know who Gemma Whalen is, she played Yara Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. And I was like, why is it Gemma Whalen? But it doesn't matter. And I love it though. And she's like, Tally's like, okay, it looks like they're doing work and they're arming the mines. And that's where we leave.
So then we get Raylla, who shouldn't be out in this field chasing down the Spree leader, who does the smart thing for once in a Spree's life, and burns their face into Scylla.
Yeah. Because they knew Raylla.
Because they knew Rael's weakness. And ours.
Literally, if that was anybody else chasing them, this move would have done nothing.
So
whatever.
It's Scylla, but not Scylla. And they fight, which I guess it's maybe Mama Costia was banking on her being mad enough about the situation to kill the Spree agent. But
I guess, but like, what if Raylla was just emotionally crippled by this, and then the Spree lady kills Raylla because she can't use work because she's all over the place? Like, it was a dumb gamble.
She basically beats the Spree agent down, even though she tries to pull the "It's me, Scylla," or "It's me, Scylla. Let me try to tell you things." But no, Raylla's like, everything about you is a lie, and with the Jesus light behind her, with the clouds.
Yeah, what time of day is it right now? Anyway, and this is Raylla's acceptance. She got through the 5 stages of grief here. This is it.
She kills the Spree agent / Scylla's face, and that's her closure for the moment.
Yeah, and it's just like the last shot is just her bathing in the light, accepting the truth, and
which is so I don't like it, but I like the writing. I don't like the situation.
Yeah, Elliot talks about this after the storm because again, like Raylla very much up until this point has been, Scylla first, and this is her accepting her situation and all the stuff about Scylla, and this is her putting the unit first, and that's like something that goes forward with Raylla. So this is just her accepting all of that and like what is real and what isn't, kind of thing. And
but she really doesn't know what's real and what's not. Still,
I mean, not the full truth, but the truth of Scylla being in the Spree and Scylla targeting her was real.
Roar.
But poor Raylla.
Yep. So we go back to Anacostia and the truck.
We sure do.
Which is now a 10-ton bomb that they have to destroy. But Tally, who is apparently the most powerful knower in the land
ever, magically overnight, yes,
sees these civilian hostages in the truck, and Anacostia reports this back to the war room. And that's where when we go back to the war room.
Because we have a situation, and Isadora's like, well, great. They have hostages in the last truck. And Alder's face totally shifts. Like, oh, those fuckers. But she brushes that off because she's like, you know what? The mission hasn't changed. Destroy that shit. And Isadora's like, what the fuck? And again, glances at Clary for help. And Alder's like, what are you guys looking at? Go. Tell them to go. And then it cuts to Mama Costia. And Mama Costia is getting this order from Alder via Isadora that's saying, whatever, do it anyway. And you just like see her have this face journey of like her beliefs are being shattered. Kind of like she's almost having this like parallel army idealism, an army / Alder idealism being shattered by this whole scenario. But because they're in it, they have to keep it together.
Her face when she closes and her eyes.
Oh my god, yes, Demetria, well played, ma'am. Like, her face journey as she's giving the order is so painful. Because Mama Costia doesn't believe in this and doesn't want to be doing this either, but they have no choice because she got an order. And she's like, all right, guys, just like in training, we're going to grind it into dust. And Tally runs up to her and she's like, what are you doing? I just told you there's hostages. Like, and Anacostia tells Tally what she needs to hear, like Scylla apparently did to Raylla, and says, the spree are making you see things. My intel says there's no civilians on board. And Tally's like, well, but I can see them. What are you talking about? And she's like, my intel comes from Alder, Tally, so do you understand me? Which totally has a double meaning, but Tally doesn't get it. And again, Tally's back in that position of just being a good soldier versus being a good person versus like trusting herself that she's been in since she outed Scylla. And now this questioning of the army for Tally is going up to Alder like it is for Anacostia. And like, remember when we got a Tally in the pilot just like gushing over Alder, because Alder's like, I think she's been hero worshipping Alder when she was hero worshipping the army as a kid. And now it's like the start of Tally being like, well, can I trust Alder fully? And that's the same journey that Anacostia is on. So it's very interesting that these two have this like kind of parallel thing going on with this. And Tally just kind of steps away after that line and just looks very hurt, disillusioned by the whole thing, because she's like, well, I guess if Alder says so, this is going to happen, even though I see something that's conflicting with that. And then the whole horrible thing just starts happening. The truck comes towards them. Raylla is back now after killing the spree agent or knocking her out. I don't know. And they're in their formation, and Mama Costia's like, listen, I guess they're doing wind shear is I guess what they're doing because they're grinding it. And so they're like, this isn't going to work unless they're close enough. So it like literally has to come close enough to us. And then Lieutenant Pulpit or whatever her name is chimes in, and she's all of us. And she's like, is this going to work? And Mama Costia is like, it has to because we got nothing else. And so when it gets close enough, she gives them the signal and they all do the wind shear. And
except for Tally.
Except Tally. So I'm like, did this not work fully because we all weren't doing it, Tally? And it starts working, but it's just not strong enough. And part of the truck just comes through the barricade and we cut away. Very
so
rudely.
did they not finish arming this before they wind sheared it? Or did it just, does wind shear negate the spree mine?
I have no idea. That was my question. I'm like, well, what were these mines armed to do? Because literally nothing happens when they blow it up.
Just supposed to explode all of those flotation devices and make everybody kill themselves?
Right.
So,
why was there no spree magic that came out of this? There's like 50 at least balloon type things. What the fuck?
I don't understand.
I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah,
whatever.
very weird. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Elliot, explain.
Please explain.
Or Joy, you wrote this.
Joy, what the heck's going on? Tally not participating is a little act of She's not rebelling. She just can't do it.
No. She's
Yeah.
in shock that this is
Because
happening.
not only can she see them, she can feel them. So there's a level of empathy going on.
I think so. She's like, I can't. They don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be a part of this. But like, I'm like, did you not helping lead to the catastrophe
Mm-hmm.
of them not all being powerful enough? I don't know.
But does that mean that knowers have the ability to like some kind of power of empathy as well?
I would think so, because like Tally's been the empathetic one this whole
Mm-hmm.
time. And she was the one when like the pool attack happened that was like I could like what she was describing was like I could feel what was happening, not just like see the horror. I felt it.
So they're kind of like they can see the things that are happening, but also have a heightened empathy.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Makes sense. It's part of the knowing, right? It's all
Yeah.
encompassing, like feeling and seeing, I guess.
I need information on each class of witches.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Please explain.
Please explain, Elliot. So here's where our premonitions come true.
I know.
Abigail wakes up on a cot inside of one of the bats, and Anacostia is there. She tries to get up, but Anacostia tells her like wait, take it easy. You got hit in the head, and tells her that Tally and Raylla are on the way back to Fort Salem on a different bat, and then says not everyone made it. So there's a body in the bat with them. So I'm guessing they're in the injured people's transport.
Yeah.
And Abigail pulls back the sheet or the blanket, and it's Libba.
And I'm sobbing so hard right now.
Yep. Ashley absolutely murdered me.
Mm-hmm.
With Abigail telling Libba to get up, you dirty swine.
I know.
It's so freaking sad. She's screaming at her to get up. And it reminds me of a scene from another show. I don't know if any of you ever watched Buffy, but there's an episode called The Body.
Oh, God,
where
yes.
Anya, the character Anya, gives that speech about not understanding why death happens. And I feel like this is Abigail facing death again, the death of someone she knows and grudgingly has respect and affection for on some level. Flirting. All of those times. So Abigail's falling apart, and Anacostia just kind of holds her. She like leans back onto Anacostia, and it's just the most sad. This episode is just not a fun episode. Nothing in this episode is fun.
No.
The flirting was fun, and then they ruined it.
They ruined it with this scene. And the reason she died is a piece of debris sliced up her heart too bad to fix.
Listen.
Metaphor? Come on.
This is not cool.
No, it's not.
Abigail and Libba could have had a beautiful relationship.
No. Well, they had to make room for Adil, so they had to get Libba out of the way.
Get Libba out of the way so they could bring in Adil. But
you could have like sent her somewhere. You didn't have to do this.
She could have just happily gone to war college and biffed off or something.
I know, but in After the Storm, Elliot basically confirms he pulled like a Game of Thrones here, where he was like, not to keep bringing up that show, but like he's basically like, you know, Libba dying brings everybody back to the reality of this story, that this isn't Harry Potter. Like, you know, this is a world where they're soldiers, and this is the reality of war. Like, they can die, even your faves, basically. So that's why it had to be somebody people were attached to. It couldn't be like, oh, rando died.
Somebody they made you even more attached to in this episode.
I know. Exactly.
I mean, you know they're gonna die when that happens.
I know. They suddenly have so much screen time. You're like, something bad's gonna happen. But yeah, that's what they were doing.
But eventually they get back to the base, and the unit is standing and watching soldiers fold up the flag over Scylla's coffin. Abigail's tearing up. Raylla and Tally are just super solemn. and they watch pretty much the whole thing. But Abigail leaves.
Oh, wait. Before they leave, I just want to note there is a super sad version of the theme song playing in the background this whole time.
There is.
And the flag folding ceremony over the casket of the fallen soldier is something we do in the American military. And so it's this very like symbolic moment that's happening. And I think they're kind of like trying to like reflect, have everybody kind of reflect on this thing that like they all just went on this mission they weren't ready for the good of America. And the cost of all of that was this one soldier's life. And in the process, they had to kind of, whether knowingly or unknowingly, forego their morals to do this. And the ones that knew that were like Tally and all the officers, because they just killed a bunch of innocent people to do this. And look, the consequence of this is we lost another witch. And so I think that's like the reality aspect that Elliot's trying to drive home here. And my question is, so Libba died. Is she the last Swythe of childbearing age? Like, is this the end of the Swythes too?
Good question.
I don't know that they ever addressed that, but I'm wondering, like, is like, not only is this the end of Libba, is this the end of yet another big, powerful witch line, like the Swythes?
I hope not. I hope Libba had some
I
sisters.
hope not. But it could be where we're at with this story. It sucks so bad.
Great. One more thing to get depressed about. Thanks, Theora.
I know. Well, I didn't write this. Joy did, and her friend. I forget who else wrote this. Sorry. Scrolling back up. Ellie. You guys shouldn't be allowed to write together.
Yeah.
Super depressing. Stop this. So depressing.
I need to double my antidepressants after this.
Let's go back and revisit episode 205 or 201.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
But
anyway.
So after they leave the flag folding ceremony, they're back in their room and they're all sitting around. Raylla asks Abigail if she's okay and then immediately regrets it and is like, that's a dumb question. None of us are okay.
Yes.
And Abigail just kind of spouts out the party line, and Libba's not here, but she died with honor, so pledge fulfilled. And Tally takes that moment to tell them that there were civilians in the second truck that they destroyed. Abigail is in her own denial about that for a hot minute and argues that they wouldn't have been ordered to take the truck out if there were hostages. But Raylla is like, hey, hi, where have you been?
We didn't finish basics, and they just threw us into that. What are you talking about?
That and, hey, the army does a lot of shit that's questionable.
Uh-huh.
So she goes and she's like, Tally, so what did you see? And Tally says, it's not really what I saw, but what I felt. They didn't want to die. And she told Anacostia. And Raylla is like, and she didn't care? Because I guess they're thinking this came from Anacostia. But Tally tells them that she had intel that comes straight from General Alder that there were no hostages. And then Abigail is like, well, they wouldn't send us into a mission without all the facts. And I'm like, Abigail, what the hell has your mom been teaching you? Because that is something that they absolutely would do.
Yeah.
It's a need to know thing. So then it's pointed out, they sent us in before we finished basic, Abigail. And Raylla says that she believes Tally. And I don't think Abigail wants to say it, but say that she does, but, she does. And she says, we'll figure this out together. And so this is kind of the first time you see the unit bonding or coming together against the general army structure. As in like they're like, okay, we'll figure this out. But within the confines of, they're forced to be in the army, so.
They're making a pact to put the unit before everybody else. That's what they're doing.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say, and I can't get it out.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's interesting that Abigail in this conversation kind of struggles with that a little bit. Whereas in the beginning, when she confronts Tally, she's like, how dare you not tell me? And the unit, what about the unit? So it's weird that like Abigail was in the headspace of unit first back then Libba dies, and she's like, well, but the army. I'm like, what, Abigail, what happened?
I mean,
what happened?
Are you just trying to grasp
Yeah,
at,
are you regressing?
Are you grasping at
What's happening?
Are you falling back on everything that was safe and that you knew and there was control and no one would send you into situations where you...
Yeah, that makes sense. She's like, but the bellwether playbook, it said
Yeah.
this. Yeah, maybe that's what's happening. I just thought it was weird because I was like, you had it a minute ago, Abigail. What happened?
I think she just wanted to go back to safe ground.
Totally. Yeah, because like her world's ripped under her to see Libba die. Libba dying is a big deal for her. And yeah, Ashley says that in After the Storm. This is like, again, her coming to terms. This is something that's been chipped away at Abigail, really, but it's coming to terms with like, well, can I trust everything my mom ever told me about the military? Can I trust Alder? Can I trust the army's always right? So like you're saying, like that is what's happening with Abigail here. So I think it's Raylla's like, I've been in this headspace the whole time. Did you not hear my mama drama? And then and Tally's been sitting with this dilemma as well since the wedding. So they're all kind of coming to the same conclusion together that like maybe we cannot trust all these people, and you know, maybe we can trust us. And so we've said this before, and you especially has pointed this out, that like being in the unit and forced to being in this unit dynamic really is the best thing that ever happened to them. And it is in this survival piece of this whole world they're in, because like again, they're being forced to do all these things. And so it's good that they have at least two other people that they can actually count on while they're going through all of this moral gray, because they had to leave their morals at the door when they did this, really, without knowing it. Like that was taken from them against their will. And I think that's partially why Tally couldn't participate in the wind shear, because she's like, I still have my morals and you're trying to take my morals away, and I know what I feel, and like I can't just do this. And everybody else did it without realizing it, and it's
really awful. Messed up.
It is.
And it's it's no wonder that people question Alder's decisions, because when you look at it on a micro level, as far as what the cadets are going through, they're not going to see a bigger picture of why Alder's doing what she's doing. Correct. They experience what they experience, and that's it.
Exactly. No, totally. And that's where it's like, was the greater good outweighed by this one questionable kind of action? And it's like, isn't that the whole dilemma with the spree? The spree is after this big noble goal, but they're doing horrible micro targeting, like their little battles, quote unquote, that they're doing to achieve the greater good are horrific, like in comparison to like their goal. So it's like, it's kind of putting the army in a similar position. They just did something horrible that they say they don't do for the greater good. So it's like, these are the moral quandaries we kind of get stuck into in these like kind of conflicts.
They're not so different from the spree.
No, and like, so the question is like, is Alder evil for doing this, or was is Alder justified by, well, the greater good was stopping the spree from killing a bunch of civilians. So what? I mean, we lost one soldier, but the millions of lives could have been saved.
We lost one soldier, so it's like, and a bunch of civilians.
Right. So when you're outweighing, that we're not going to talk about. We're not talking about that.
Yeah, no, we're not.
But like, again, like I can see why Alder did it, but and that's what makes the show so fun, because again, it's all about the perspective of the person. Yeah, like,
you see why she did it, but you're dumb if you think there's not going to be blowback from that.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. There's always consequences to your actions, regardless. And somebody's always going to view it as being bad. Somebody else is going to be like, yeah, that was the right thing to do. Like the people at the Boston airport were probably like, yeah, thanks for that. I'm still alive. Right. So, it's all about perspective of the person. And the cadets that just did it are like, what the fuck? Like, we were lied to and thrown into this. But
and then
you're calling me a hero. Like,
people that are spree and or sympathetic to the cause are like, see, this is why we're doing what we're doing, because
exactly
you guys are out here killing
they just
other
murdered
witches
more witches
and exactly. Are it's like messed up.
Yeah, exactly. So we will get this when we'll go into this when we get into Sarah Alder's TV show, but like, it's all about perspective and how you spin the situation. Because what we just did is spun the situation from everybody's perspective to make their quest justified. You can easily justify these atrocities to be like, see, we're the good guys, see?
From any angle.
From any angle. Exactly.
But
So after the unit makes their pack, we go to another kind of crossroads of sorts where Anacostia confronts Alder. And she reports to Alder's office, and like the opening shot when she comes in is just the lesbian Jesus like drenching Alder. So she almost looks like this mythical figure, like goddess in the window. And I think it's very significant because, you know, Anacostia as a fosterling was quote unquote saved by Alder and like taken in by Alder. And like she's in the position she's in now because Alder guided her. And that was like, you know, her savior figure in a way and like mother figure. And so I think it's important that she's like haloed in this light. But Anacostia, when you cut to her, like Anacostia, like the window, like her face is in the shadow, and part of her is in the light. So it's like Anacostia is like on the precipice between like pro Alder against Alder kind of thing. So I love the way they did that with the lighting. And you just see that Anacostia is not okay with anything that just happened. And Alder tries to apologize. She's like, "Hey, I'm sorry we couldn't give you warning. I'm sorry we lost Libba today. I mourn the loss." I'm going to tell her family she was a hero. And Anacostia is just all her responses are just like void of emotion. Yeah, it's robotic. That's the word. Just robotic. Like she's like, I knew I was going to have to come in this office and like be like, yeah, Alder, we did the right thing. But she's she can't even
not here for it.
No, she can't even get through it. The first response is very robotic, and then she's like, well, Alder, since we lost a cadet today in an improvised mission, so she's mad that she's like, you made me do this. You made me improvise this with people who weren't ready. And Alder's like, you know what? I'm going to do a press conference. We're going to address the Libba thing. I'm going to call her a hero. It's going to be fine. And the world is a safer place for what you did today. Because again, this is the army justifying what they just did as for the greater good.
Wrong thing to say.
And Anacostia is just like, I should return to my troops. Bye-bye. And she leaves. And I think Alder having this, like, not a confirmation of, yeah, you did the right thing from Anacostia, who's like her number 2, kind of like in the pro Alder camp, is a little bit of a signal to her that like,
oh,
okay, maybe this didn't go so well. Because you see her like amazing jaw muscles clenching, almost like she's like weird. Because again, Alder's like just siloed in her own little world where she's just like, what? I don't even care that you're telling me these things. Like, whatever. I know I'm right. Like, and to have somebody kind of close to her not immediately be like, yeah, you did the right thing. Your generals are all crazy for not agreeing with you. I think kind of sits with Alder a little bit here.
Also, Anacostia's voice breaks when she's... Oh, that was something.
Yeah, when she lets her feelings out about, you just sent me in that horrible position, and those horrible those girls, like, yeah, jeez. It's so emotional the way she delivers it.
Rick and Demetria.
Well played, man. You and Ashley had quite a show.
Yeah, this is totally the Demetria and Ashley show.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Raylla is just, you know, constantly sad.
Yeah, zombie Raylla in the background.
It's Taylor's baseline. So. Yeah. You did great too, but like, you're always doing this. It's just they are doing it.
Oh, I have such an image in my head right now. She's Raylla wandering around looking sad.
That's 90% of the
90% of the show. Well, when Scylla's not there, yes.
Yeah, it's like 60-40 when Scylla's there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she's either like super sad mad or
right, super that's happy. What I'm saying. Like, exactly.
Unfortunately, we're gonna go see more sadness because we're back in the room, and I don't know where Abigail and Tally biffed off to, but like they're conveniently gone when Adil shows up and knocks on the door.
Also, why does Adil know where her room is?
Yeah, what the fudge? Did she like bring him there for some secret makeouts or something at some point off screen?
Right. Did he ask around? Like, well, how did he get there? So weird, but whatever.
By the way, this is the point at which I'm going to slip in my what was blank doing off screen.
Hell yeah. Who is it?
It's Kalita.
Yes! Because we don't get her either, Elliot. Her and Scylla are nowhere, and I'm mad. What was she doing?
So, you remember when Kalita took down the most powerful witch in, like, the world? with
Oh yeah.
the power
Who
of her
forgets
voice
that?
and killed all the plants, right? Well,
Mhm.
Kalina's like, I'm going to grow some more plants to replace these. And so she's now taken over Alder's little witch garden for herself and
Yes.
changed all the plants over to things that she wants. Like, she's made like a little, almost a sunroom, like a little, what are they called? Come on, greenhouse
A
type
greenhouse,
thing,
yeah.
so that she can grow some more exotic plants and show Alder that she's been doing it all wrong. So she's out gardening Alder as we speak.
I love it. I hope they're all plants. I hope she's on that level of petty too, where it's like plants Alder hates or is
yeah,
allergic
absolutely.
to.
So she's found out she knows everything Alder hates and is allergic to, and that's what she's growing in there. So she's like, I'm gonna make a salve that'll make your butt itch, Alder.
Oh my god, I love it. Petty Kalina in the witch garden. That's
Yes.
amazing. I love
But
it.
the best
so
part
good.
is that it's probably in Alder's private quarters area too. So she's just like taking over that space for herself, because Alder did say that she could have whatever she needed.
Oh, and Kalina is not shy of taking what she needs and
Exactly.
wants. I need food now. Kalina. She's the boss.
So I figured this was the good point to mention Kalina, since we're going to.
That's a perfect point.
We also needed to laugh.
100%.
All right, so Adil shows up mysteriously and goes over to Abigail, who's sitting on the bed by herself, being sad. Adil asks if something happened, and she's like, like so many things happened. We lost someone. So he sits down and they go through the details of they're on an operation that shouldn't have happened like it did, and no one should have died like Libba died. And he comforts her and says that he's sorry, and then she lays down and he gets behind her and spoons her, and they cuddle, comforting her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says someone once told her she was ignorant of the world, but she's a little less so now. So Abigail's having a moment where she's admitting that she was actually ignorant to what war was really like, and now she thinks she's getting the idea.
Yeah, this is dawn of a new era for Abigail.
It is.
This is it.
But Adil, being the sweet dude that he is like, whoever said that's an idiot. Very smooth, sir. Yeah. Very smooth.
Good job.
Good job. So
he's drinking his lesbian Jesus juice.
He is.
Yeah.
Raylla left a little bit behind.
Yeah, she ships them, so she's like, it makes Abigail less bitchy. So like, here,
exactly. Here,
take all my powers.
She should probably write a book, to counteract the codices.
No, I'm saying, like, in the post, like, whatever this is, era of Motherland, like, Raylla should write her, like, how to actually woo witches book and then make a bunch of money off that. Scylla should patent witch texting, and they'll be so wealthy when this is all
She'll
over.
Be a tech giant.
She'll be a tech giant, just making all kinds of witch tech and probably human tech, because Scylla can do everything.
Scylla can do everything.
She can. So they'll be a multimillionaire queer couple when this is over. Mm-hmm.
I like our alternate version.
Alternate. It's what's going to happen.
Oh, sorry. It's canon, but it just hasn't happened.
Spoilers.
Sorry, we spoiled you for the after in the future.
The after the Motherland.
The when they're in their 30s.
Yeah, sorry. Our bad. Oops. But again, this is the depressing episode. Sorry, not sorry.
We thought we'd spoil you so you could get a little happy.
Yeah, a little bit of happiness listening to this.
Especially before Alder's TV show.
Oh my god, Alder's TV.
Yeah, I'm glad you got this one. I'm glad this is just...
Oh my god.
No, I'm good. Adil is sweet. Abigail is a little more understanding of all the asinine horribleness of war.
Totally. Just one little thing I wanted to point out from like after the storm. It's pretty obvious in this, but it's worth noting from Ashley's perspective with Adil. This is like somebody Abigail is like her true self with, which doesn't happen with many people. And so she's taught through like the bellwether stuff is to like hide the bad parts of yourself, hide your insecurities, just be strong, project that you're the good soldier. And with Adil, you see when he comes in, she doesn't even like try to do any of that stuff. She's just very like
forthcoming
herself. So it's very, I think that's very important for Abigail in her growth to like have somebody she can be her true self
She's
with.
open with him rather than closed.
Exactly. And it's natural for her. She's never felt this with anybody ever before. So it's significant for Abigail. So just throwing that out there. Alrighty. And then the finale of this episode. So then we get to Alder's TV show. So it's like a press conference basically. And the cadets are watching this on a much more modern TV than Papa Collars.
Yeah, what is going on?
What time is it? Whatever. And so Alder's on the TV and the cadets are watching in some kind of common room. And she opens with a moment of silence for the fallen. And it's just like Mama Cassie's in the back also with her arms crossed. Like she's just fuming. Like she's an angry mother that is hellbent on just like protecting her babies. And this woman on TV just like killed one of her babies. And so basically Alder goes off. And what she does during this speech, and we've talked a lot about what the hell just happened, is puts the pro-America, we're fighting the good fight and did what was in our best interest for the world spin on this whole thing. And she basically explains, like earlier today, we intercepted 2 trucks that we totally didn't let slip past us that were filled with spree. Bree shaking your head. Because, yeah, Alder, we could have stopped it there, but here we are. Even the dog's pissed. And so they're like, we stopped the spree armory. So bringing up the spree. And she has to spin this as a victory to win points with Wade. And that's what she does. And she's like, the spree destroyed that armory and killed a bunch of civilians because they're evil. And then tragically, they took hostages and all those weapons, but our cadets stopped them because they were hellbent on committing a mass coordinated attack, starting in Boston and going God knows where, probably around the world. So like being like, we stopped this big World War II that never happened. We're stopping it. And like, come on now. The spree is not capable of this. Come on now.
The spree's barely capable. Like
Alder. But we all know this. Like, so it's just a propaganda speech is all this is. And she's basically like, you know, our forces were there and we stopped them. But of course the spree were violent and they chose, meaning the spree, chose to execute the hostages. Mm-hmm. And our troops suffered a further loss in battle. Let's go back to they chose to execute the hostages because this is the spin, right? Mm-hmm. Because technically they did, right? Mm-hmm. Because the spree were the ones that took the hostages. If they never took the hostages and they didn't and they never armed the mines and they didn't come near the troops, then the troops wouldn't have been forced to windshear the truck that killed everybody in the truck. So if you trace the line of events back far enough, you could be like, yeah, see, at this point, that's when the spree chose to do this. But also, if you go further down that timeline, where the army was in front of the truck and saw the hostages, but still chose to strike it anyway. So who chose to kill the hostages? Was it the spree who took the hostages? So the spree put them in harm's way, so it was their fault. Or was it the army who's like, yeah, I still see the hostages, but we're going to fucking blow this shit up anyway. So again, this is all about perspective. Who chose to kill the hostages? They both kind of did.
Man, if I was the spree people driving that truck, I would have reversed out of there and found another road.
Right. I'm like, well, you guys aren't going to, what are you going to do, chase us?
Yeah, like run after us? Jesus.
I know how magic works. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Or like drive off around them into the field. What is going to happen?
You know, I got gas. There's another way to get to this.
Yeah.
This airport.
You guys later.
Yeah, you're not gonna do a high speed chase. No. What is this? So, Jesus Christ! But again, like
flying ladies just floating over.
Is flying lady off screen watching Citydrop? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yes. On her little spry TV. She's on her. It's like Sling TV, except it's Scry TV. So
oh my god. That's what she's always watching. That's so good. She's super in. There's no TV shows in this world. It's just news. So she's watching Scry TV. I love her. Yeah, so she's watching this being like, oh, the trauma. Will the troops win? Anyway, so that's what Flying Lady's doing. Bonus tertiary character.
Yes.
But Alder's words here are so dangerous because, again, it's just the propaganda spin. And everybody in the room of cadets looks so confused because they were at the battle and none of this is what they experienced. So, like, again, they're seeing their big anointed leader spinning the thing they just experienced into something else. And it's not sitting well with these troops that are now going to be soldiers because Citydrop's over. So these are going to be your next soldiers. So it's like sowing discontent in the next generation of the army is what this is doing.
Does she think that people are just never going to question her, period? Is she that delusional about her own power?
I think that at this point she's gotten away with just, again, brushing people off. She's like, thanks for your input, but I'm running the show in the whole world. And the point that this situation has gotten bad enough where the president doesn't like her and is like, if you don't produce results for me, I'm going to get rid of you and all of these witches. Because remember, Witchfather said, well, there's legislation going through the Congress now to dismantle the whole army. So, like, not only could Sarah lose power, but, like, all the witches might lose their status as army people. And then maybe that's PTSD for Alder, too, who's like, crap, if we lose this, then we're back to the burning times. So,
exactly,
you know, maybe she's reverting back to that. And, like, in that Sarah Alder, like, you know, Salem Accord Sarah Alder, she's like, well, I have to be extreme. I have to unleash the seed that changes the world. And so maybe that's her headspace here. And she's like, I have to be extreme because my extreme action is what led to literally all of this. So this is Hail Mary Alder time again.
Hail Mary keeping the status quo because the other status is like, we're all going to kill the witches.
Yeah, and in this scenario, she doesn't have the seed no one's seen before, because that's the terrain that won't give her the seeds. So she's just grasping at straws for, like, what to do. And so she has to keep the public on her side to keep the witch army. So she's trying to frame this from Alder's perspective as, look, we're beating the spree. Like, we stopped the spree from doing bad stuff. We're protecting you. Like, call your representative and don't dismantle the army. And I think that's really what she's trying to achieve here. But, like, the consequence of that is the cadets that are coming up in the armed forces are seeing this happen and they're like, wow, we're just being used. And that's, you know, the faces of the unit. That's Mama Costia, who's just pissed off. Like, and she ends this whole thing with, like, hey, I know we lost a witch today. You know, civilians were killed, but take solace in the fact that several spree agents were neutralized, aka killed too. We killed some leaders. We took out their weapons. And we stopped this big attack from happening. So we got to rebuild and continue fighting the spree. Everybody does, like, once and for all. And, like, a blessing on all those, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, questions from reporters. Because, again, this is to win public support. That's how, like, the United States government works when it comes to legislation. You could annoy your senators and hope they do something. But that's where Alder's at. And so she's trying to be the face of, look, we're doing good stuff, but, like, literally none of the cadets look convinced by this at all, and that's how it ends.
Yep.
Just with discontent.
Unit stares at the screen, just like, WTF.
Yep. And that's how this all works. So not only did the unit start off with, like, not trusting each other, it ends with, like, all of the cadets not trusting their leader. It's just, so you can see that not only has this whole conflict going on with the spree, you know, put witches against each other, it's now putting witches within the army against each other. You saw it with Clary talking back and, like, the coup happening kind of with Mama Bellwether, but now it's seeping into the troops through these extreme actions because the situation really isn't good for anybody. And if you don't agree with what Alder did, then, like, well, what, quote unquote, was the right thing to do? Was there a right answer here?
There wasn't.
No. And so it's like, yeah, that's the problem. And so Alder, I think, knows that, being in this position for so long. And so she's like, so we have to make the best of what just happened. And that's what this propaganda speech was. That's that's where they're at.
Unfortunately, it's just not gonna fly. I think forces have been set in motion that we're always going to outpace her desperate attempts to keep control and power in a way. So
yeah, and I think for Alder, it's extending beyond that too, because there's the threat of dismantling the whole witch army, and I think she's trying to keep that together too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she's in the position to do that. So there's a lot weighing on Alder. So it's not so simple as her just being heartless and a vendetta against the spree. There's a lot of it's a big game of chess. Like, if she moves one way, there are these consequences. If she moves this way, there's a different set of consequences. And so it's like damage control, which path has the least amount of like things I need to mitigate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happened here.
Who am I going to take the hit from? Who would I rather take the hit from?
Exactly. And it's better for us to for the witches as a whole in the army to quote unquote get a win with the spree in the eyes of the public that we can spin as positive than to do nothing and have something else happen, and then it shows that we're not effective, and that would end up harming us more, really.
And I think it's just unfortunate that no matter what she did, even if they had come out of that cleanly without anyone dying, civilian or witch, I don't think it would have done that much.
No.
To change anyone's mind.
No, I think everyone's far too past that. The only thing that changes is being like, oh, look, the spree's gone. But even then, there's always a scapegoat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Spree's the scapegoat right now.
Yep. There's always going to be the mob.
Mm-hmm. So.
All right. Well.
All right. Recapping this episode. Basically, Citydrop was a disaster. And
depression.
Yeah, it's just depression. Basically what happened in this episode. So Raylla finally gets confirmation and comes to the acceptance that Scylla is a spree agent. Citydrop was a hot mess. We'll see who actually goes to War College and who doesn't in the next episode, I think. So TBD. But unfortunately, there was some spree stuff that went down, and the cadets all had to go fight, and we just talked about that ad nauseum, where poor Libba was killed, but the spree armory was also defeated. So there's that. Alder's trying to spin it as a win, but you can see her generals are not too thrilled with the way this went down. Mama Costi is not too thrilled with the way this went down, and all the cadets are not thrilled. So there's a bunch of doubt being sowed between the army people and Alder. That's causing people to have epiphanies. But the positive thing that came out of this was really the unit bonded together through this experience and decided that they're going to trust each other above everybody else. Mm-hmm. That's basically this episode.
Yeah. The only positive to take out of it, really.
Yeah, that is the only positive that came out of this episode.
Yeah. And I don't like it. No. So who's your pick for Big Witch Energy?
For this episode, I am giving it to Libba's wife.
You took my answer.
She is the answer. Honestly, because I have a runner-up, but Libba gets it because she just took the role of de facto leader the whole time. She did. And she saw that Abigail was flailing, and Libba's they gotta look to someone to keep us alive, and she just flipped on her big witch energy the whole rest of the episode and just led the troops. She saved Abigail's ass multiple times. She humble bragged in the bat that she's I'm the alpha, Abigail, and alphas look after the weaklings when they were bantering. Which
she basically was I'm the top.
Yeah, yes, that's what that was code for. And then the final one was at the end where they're in the formation and that cadet tries to run away. And she's like, bitch, where are you going? And
get the fuck back here.
And she literally has enough big witch energy to keep that girl in the line as the trucks are coming towards them. So Libba Swithe wins it.
I agree for everything you just said. And also, I want to add that her pep talks are just top tier.
She's a natural leader and she does a great job. And I love that she just, when the opportunity is there, when there's that vacuum, she steps in. And she even gives Abigail pep talk. She's like, I can see that you're flailing. Let me be the leader and give you the pep talk like I would with my unit. So what a fucking shame that she's gone, because Libba is a great character and you will be sorely, sorely missed, ma'am. We loved you very, very much.
Can I have her back?
Yeah. Can we get her back somehow? Isadora, work on this.
Mm-hmm. Can she come out of the mycelium but alive?
That's what I'm hoping. Spoiler, maybe, if it happens.
If it happens, sorry, we spoiled you.
Yeah, we have spoiled it. And my runner-up, though, was Tally.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tally, again, like, had a backbone in this episode, despite being, like, wrestling her own demons like everybody else in the unit. But she was the one, too, like, when Abigail was flailing, she took over, like, when they were doing the sweep of the school or wherever they were. And she's the one that, like, got through to Raylla, like... So and Tally tried to stand up to Mama Castio, and she saw the hostages. So Tally had a lot of big witch energy, but I think Libba had the most.
Absolutely. And I love when they show the varying sides of Tally, because people like to talk about how much she's a softie and is a walking exclamation point, but she can kick ass too. So.
Yeah, no, totally. They're growing up. They're kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're becoming adults by being forced to be in the military. That's what's happening to all of them. And so it's very traumatic, and it's almost a situation where they have to accelerate becoming adults and facing reality. And, like, Tally came from the matrifocal compound, which was, like, this happy-go-lucky little, like, isolated area where she could be the human exclamation point. She could be this optimistic person. And now she's in a situation where she can't, because that's not how you survive in war.
Nope.
Like, so, yeah, you're starting to see Tally evolve.
War is dirty.
The world is dirty.
Mm-hmm. Abigail knows that now.
Yeah, and right, exactly. Even Abigail, somebody who was brought up in military culture, like, never really experienced real-world military before. So the only one of them who really did experience the consequences was Raylla, because her mother was killed. Like, and we learned more about what happened with Raylla and her mother in season 2, like how the army, like, really, really traumatized her with her mom. But, like, yeah, so they're all growing up, basically, the very, very hard way.
I mean, and Scylla, obviously, her parents were
the
killed
hardest
by the
of all
military.
of them, yeah. And where the fuck was Scylla in this episode, right? Guys? We got a glamour, but that's not the same thing. No. Why is she missing from a whole episode? We can't get just one flashback in the dungeon? Yeah, like, what the fuck?
I mean, the only thing we got was Raylla's flashbacks from last episode, and...
Yeah, and then Spree Lady taking her face. Yeah. That was it. That's not Scylla. No, I'm mad. Whatever.
Where's my Scylla?
Yeah. That was my question at the end of this episode.
Mycelium.
Mycelium.
Where's Mycelium?
Is with Isadora's Necro, who's trying to decipher the binder of all the thousands of notes Isadora left about how to take care of the mycelium.
Yeah, she just wouldn't obviously, the only person that knows how to decode those notes is Scylla, so she had to go let her out of the cell to...
Yeah, she's like, how the fuck do you read this? God damn it. Yeah, that's what Scylla was doing off screen. Helping the Necro. That's like, I know you're bad, but, like, what is it?
Yeah. Translate this for me.
Oh, that's Isadora for...
Exactly. Isadora.
Yeah.
My God.
Oh my
We're
God.
hot mess.
It's a very sad episode to talk about. It's a sad episode to end, but, like, that's where we're at, guys. So.
Guess what? The next episode isn't much better.
Nope. I forgot how depressing the second half of season 1 is.
We're going to be in depressing land for a hot minute.
For a hot minute and a half. But thanks for listening if you got to the end of this episode, despite the content of this episode. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, I hope we made you laugh some.
And with that, we've been Big Witch Energy. If you like this episode, check out all of our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please like, comment below, and subscribe for more amazing content. Hydrate for Lesbian Jesus.